We're still not done with that one. You know what I'm talking about. We're still not done with this world, and we must play it till the end. Trust me, I don't like this world as much as I used to, but we need to finish it, and I don't know what I want to do. I've been gone for a while, so let's see what changes.
Redditors have got to live
I kind of wish the snow area got expanded more. Last time we talked about it,
because I made her orgasm and he couldn't. Things got really awkward and we never spoke again.
What?
Sorry, bro. Don't have a threesome with another guy if you can't make your girlfriend come. I wish it went better, but I was chased out of the house by the father and 3 brothers of the woman who was tied to the bed.
This wasn't here before, right?
Rope, ice and other stuff we thought would be cool, but that whole they're going to be gone for 2 days thing didn't work out. Joke's on them. They had to go back and untie their naked, wax-covered sister-daughter.
Damaged.
There was a post a while ago in one of the sex subs that I remember well enough. The guy watched Cuckold P and wanted to try it. His wife wasn't sure and he ended up convincing her that they should. She broke down and said, okay, they find a bull and get down to it. Well, she starts enjoying it and the husband realizes right then that he's not into cuckold P. He doesn't fantasize about being a cuck. He fantasizes about being the bull. But he pretty much is to endure it because he didn't want to just tell the guy to go home. He ended up having some major issues because he didn't think things would end up that way and couldn't shake the feeling that his wife cheated on him. The moral of the story: start with maybe a softer intro to a fetish rather than realizing you
really need to stop this.
Balls deep in your wife.
Maybe that could be the finale. Destroying all this.
My good friend who is a huge 50 Shades fan mailed me some glass Benoit balls.
I don't want to have to kill my dogs and I don't want to leave them here forever. Maybe I'll have to fight it.
And then surprise him with my newfound kinkiness when we went home.
I don't want to kill my dogs, but I also feel super bad if I just leave them
either
here.
I did something wrong or I have a coochie like a bear trap. They went in just fine. Felt pretty nice when I walked around, but I could not get them out. I tried everything, including, in a moment of desperation, a plastic spoon and a syringe full of lube. Nada. After several hours I become more and more panicked and called the nursing hotline at my school. The nurse on the phone assembled a team of other amused nurses who fired off suggestions like squat in the bathtub and poop and use suction from your vacuum hose. None of their suggestions work. And now I'm in an absolute frenzy. The Ben was balls had been in about 10 hours, and I was beginning to worry that I'd need to go to the air. Finally, one nurse suggests the ultimate embarrassment. Does your boyfriend have long fingers? Can he come over and help? So yeah, I called my boyfriend to come fish sex toys out of my vagina at 2 a.m. But this story gets better, because as he's driving over, one of the phone nurses suggests I sumo squat and hop down the stairs one at a time. Shockingly, this actually worked. The horrible little glass balls of embarrassment came leaking out onto my hardwood stairs. Just as my boyfriend walks in, and witnesses me crouched in a birthing position, naked from the waist down, covered in lube, crying, and these glass balls rolling noisily down the stairs into my living room.
We need a lot of sand for trading.
And don't take sex advice from 50 Shades of Grey. Me crouched in a birthing position, naked from the waist down, covered in lube, crying, and these glass balls rolling noisily down the stairs into my living room. I don't feel bad laughing at this because I have been the boyfriend with long fingers before. My wife had a blowout during anal. Apparently, my wife needs somewhere that to take a few laxatives beforehand to clean out.
I'm not sure what it wants from it. It looks like it wants me to be its friend, but at the same time, it's trying to destroy my world. Maybe if I make a device or something? Wait, the tower. I fucking forgot. I don't feel my powers. I don't feel anything. I usually feel at least a little tingling in my stomach. And at its worst, I can get a huge stomach ache and I'm able to access creative. But I don't feel anything. I feel fine. I'm not sure if it's good or bad. Maybe it lost control? We should check on it once I get this to stand. It couldn't be destroyed. It was way too powerful, right?
I started to feel a weird tingle, then a burn. I ended up pushing him off, crying, and running to the shower to cool it off. 5 minutes in, I begged for him to bring me a glass of milk out of desperation. and the night ended with him laughing his butt off as he poured milk down my butt crack in the shower. That's kinda hilarious. I'm sorry, LOL. Bathroom sex after a hot steamy shower. I almost fainted because I was overheating so much. I just sort of stopped and sat down on the floor, unable to get up and feeling really weak. We went back out and laughed about it. Today me and my GF had friends over and they were chill enough to have sex in the same room as us. I thought it would be a hot kinky type of thing, but I ended up getting super uncomfortable hearing them. Now I have the 10,000-yard stare and they're still here but closed now. I've never understood how people can be in the same room as two people freaking, or really doing anything more than kissing. I mean at like drug houses and parties where people just kinda do whatever. That's just always sounded uncomfortable and mildly anxiety-inducing for me. I slept with my boss after years of flirting and sexting. The night of, he got so drunk he spilled beer on the bed, broke some furniture stumbling around, and peed on me in his sleep. I didn't stay the night. He avoided me for months. I don't hook up with co-workers anymore. Looks like you missed out on a promotion. First year of uni, I got a single dorm with an en-suite disabled bathroom. I lucked out hard. Not to mention, my future wife, who were going to call Kat, also just so happened to pick a dorm opposite mine. Anyway, me and Kat had always flirted with the idea of using handcuffs to tie Kat to the menopause and handles in there. It was a BDSM gold mine, complete with a seat. About halfway through the year we decided to give it a go. It was amazing. I'll spare you the details, but it was every bit as good as you can imagine. The aftermath, however, was not. What I didn't mention was the additional space in the bathroom was also excellent for a little hair dye salon. So all over the floor and seat were those little sandy bleach bits you get in box dyes. After our vigorous exercise, we needed something to chow down on. We were in the group kitchen when it hit us. Our legs both broke out in a horrible rash all over, an itch the likes of you can only imagine. We tried all the creams available to us, but nothing soothed the pain. That was the last time we used that shower for that purpose. TLDR. Don't have sex in the same place you use box dyes to bleach hair without thorough washing first.
Oh my
A
god,
friend of mine dated a guy who was really into the idea of male chastity.
I might get a black cat one day.
You know, whatever. She wasn't particularly kinky, but try anything once, right? So he bought himself a little cage, tested it out for a couple of hours, and announced that he was good to go when she went away for a week. They were a long-distance sort of deal, so the idea was for this to be a regular thing while they were apart. Full stop. She locks it closed, hides the key somewhere in his flat in case of a medical emergency. Safety first, after all, and goes back home. The thing about dong cages, for those who are unfamiliar, is that you wear them pretty much constantly. It sort of defeats the object when you don't. This includes while peeing. One thing that doesn't feature in a lot of chastity pee and erotica is hygiene, or how to clean yourself off while you're locked away in a tube that occasionally traps some pee in it. She came back after a week being away from him to find what she described as the worst case of nappy rash you could possibly imagine. Apparently he was of the opinion that it was normal, and that the discomfort was all part of the experience. I don't know if you're inclined to do a Google image search for nappy rash. You're liable to see a lot of babadicks if you do. But imagine that all up a grown man's penis. For fun. I just found out a friend of mine is into that chastity stuff and I wanted to ask him how he pees, but now I don't have to thanks to you, Hannah. And also, I go out of my way to not see baby dongs. I think I'll just take your word for it, LOL. Wife brings her friend. Girl. Home after night out. Things get hot and steamy after a few more drinks.
No. It collapsed. Fuck.
Don't worry, dearest duck.
Oh my god, it was so close to hitting the ender portal.
I think my penis is in love with my wife and has overcautious marriage preservation protocols.
Fuck. What do we do?
About 8 years ago, I had a foursome with a
I don't
buddy
even
of
have my
mine.
creative powers
We
if I
had
need
sex
to
with two
destroy it.
chicks. Bro fists
Oh
in
shit,
the
I
middle.
probably shouldn't have said that so
Everything.
loud because
Well,
now he
I
knows I
was
don't
one and
have
done pretty
creative
fast and he was a
powers.
stallion. After I laid their limp noodle,
Okay,
he
we
had to
need
finish off my
TNT
girl as
and
well.
lots of it.
The few times he told the
We
story,
need
I already
emeralds,
left
we need
that
sets
part
of
out.
armor. Our
Good
villagers
all-around
need to get
guy.
prepared as
I
well.
had an initial visualization when you
Doesn't
said
look like he's
bro-fisted,
trying to
and
hurt
then I
me.
realized that you bumped fists with each other while freaking girls.
Oh, these have frostwalkers,
I
so
had
I guess
sex
I
with a
didn't
guy
get
I'd found
duplicated
online.
boots.
I was blindfolded and handcuffed on his floor. with a butt plug in whilst he was fricking me doggy style.
Throwing the
All of a
ice.
sudden he stops and is like, we have a problem. I'm like, oh crap, what? And he pulls me up onto my knees and takes the cuffs off, only to tell me that the plug has gone all the way into my butt. Like the little bit at the top that's supposed to stop crap like this from happening had gone in whilst he was pounding away. So I end up in this random guy's apartment in his bathroom, trying to fish a fricking anal plug out of my butthole. It took me like 10 minutes, but I got it out. Contrary to this thread, that story sounds like a success. I always liked the idea of a threesome, so when I finally got to try one, I was kind of disappointed that I ended up as the third wheel, especially because my then boyfriend and the girl we picked ended up paying a lot more attention to each other and practically forgot I was there. The threesome was his suggestion, not mine, but I was definitely up for it. After about an hour of being all but ignored no matter what I did, I thought frick this and went to go and read a book in the living room. We didn't last much longer as a couple, for a variety of reasons, but that was definitely one of them. I read 50 Shades and decided it was time to end my 6-year hiatus after my divorce. Met some douche who seemed to know what he was doing. It was fun having him boss me around and how he'd have me doing all sorts of naughty things in public or at work. After about a week we decided to meet. He wasn't my type, but I was oh so frisky, so we got a room. Such promises he made, but in the end I just wasn't into him and I couldn't get off. I thanked him for trying and went home. A few days go by and I'm feeling crappy. My stomach was not right. I had awful abdominal pain and diarrhea. So I'm on the toilet and I go to wipe and I felt a foreign object graze my hand. Naturally I gave it a tug, pulled it out. My brain could not register what I was seeing. I was so confused. It was a fricking condom. It hit me like a brick. The dong sucker left a fricking condom in my fricking butt and I didn't crap it out for 4 fricking days. I remembered how at one point he was deep in my butt and he mentions that the condom slipped off. No problem. Just get a new one. No fricking clue he meant it was in my butt. I think I ruined someone's threesome fantasy. I was delivering pizza at the time, and got an assignment to a nearby hotel. I took the delivery to the room,
Make you a little bit more fair.
Oh! I waited a moment as there was a quiet shuffle on the other side.
Right.
Then a girl in lingerie answered the door, and the look on her face was something like amazement. She quickly shut the door in my face and I heard something like, "You better get it." So there I was standing confused outside a hotel room door waiting for the handoff. The guy comes to the door, opens it and stares at me for a moment. The girl is peeking under his arm. I'm like, "Here's your order. That'll be $23.42. They look at each other, say, "Would you like to come in and join us for pizza?" I'm like, "No, I have more deliveries in the car. Thanks for the offer." They say, "Oh okay." They give me money and I left. Got in the car and started driving to my next stop and it suddenly hit me that they were probably playing sexy games and the weird stare was that I wasn't the pizza delivery boy. Read it in the book that sex in the tub filled with milk and honey would enhance the sexual experience. Be me. 15-year unlimited allowance that somehow managed to talk my girlfriend into it. We pool our money together and buy 10 gallons of milk and in that squeeze bear-shaped bottle of honey. We also steal some milk from cafeteria in those little cartons as well as some pockets of honey from 7/11. It's D-Day. Microwaving milk and cooking it as well while adding honey was like a 3-hour job. Whenever we poured one thing in, by the time we did another the first one would get cold and honey would settle on the bottom of the tub. We give up and pour everything in and start adding hot water. Well, bath is half full and it looks like it's time to reach sexual enlightenment. We get in and it stinks. Gets sticky and getting cold. I pretty much finish in 45 seconds and try to go down on her using honey as an aphrodisiac by rubbing it on. Finally she gets done or she says so because she is fed up, so we stop and try to clean up. The drain gets clogged. We can't get the honey off quick enough. My dad is pulling into the driveway and it's a total disaster. A few weeks later I get a urinary tract infection, but since I'm a broke immigrant I have no health insurance, so I suffer for a few weeks. She develops yeast infection and a UT as well. Also, since I spent all my money on supplies, that means
If there's any villagers left, I'll protect this place, or until I at least get some lights around here.
I'm not buying into that romantic writing crap, and smell of boiled milk gets me aroused a bit, yet my Johnson starts aching. This is the most terrible idea I've ever seen, but props to you for having the patience to actually prepare that bath. I've seen that thing in movies where girls show up to their boyfriend's place wearing nothing but an overcoat and basically flash them when he answers the door. But I decided to do this to my fiancé. I lived at home at the time and so couldn't actually leave the house naked. Besides, he lived pretty away from me, so I chose to wear clothes when I left, and I managed to sneak those off me in the car. I knocked on his door and he didn't answer.
There's more
I waited for a
villagers.
few
It's not
minutes
just
and
one.
tried the door. It was open. I opened it a bit and he was in the shower, so now I'm just standing in his living room naked with an overcoat on which is becoming increasingly warm inside. I thought about what to do. He had seen me naked, so there was nothing exciting about just sprawling across his bed naked. That was a usual greeting. Nothing horrible happened, so I guess it may not apply here, but it completely ruined the fantasy for me. He probably would have been pleasantly surprised if you had joined him in the shower. Slept with an older woman. Amazing. Then her soon-to-be ex-husband came in and punched me a few times. It was my birthday. Maybe if you would have screamed "it's my birthday," he wouldn't have punched you. You never know. It could have worked. I had a huge thing for this guy and we had had a whole 2 years of build-up. The first time I met him he gave me a ride home because everyone else was too drunk. On the way he said he wanted to charge me a kiss for the ride. I wanted to but also didn't want to be that easy about it. So we compromised with a kiss on the cheek. He of course turned his face into mine at the last second and it turned into a couple minutes of making out. He tried to take it farther but I got out of the car. Not 3 minutes later he adds me on Facebook. We exchange numbers and start texting a lot. I was super into him but I also was a virgin and not looking to not be one. We lose touch when we started seeing other people, then pick up right where we left off when we were both single again. We spent a lot of time sending each other very explicit messages about fricking each other pretty much anywhere and everywhere, even though we'd never done anything more than that one kiss. Once he came over to my house when my best friend and I were home alone having a sleepover. Got us both alone at separate points and kissed both of us. Then got us to kiss, which for me is not surprising. But it's not anything you'd expect my friend to do. It was her first kiss. That was all the further we took that though. Cue more explicit texting. We started getting really creative with it. We talked about some things that I'm really not freaking sure how I knew anything about. Finally I started having sex with people. I had been with 3 partners and was open to more. I was having a party at my house. I invited him. He agreed. I ran around the house screaming. I only had like 4 friends there yet and they all knew about him, that I was finally going to get to frick him. He showed up and there was no pretense. We just went straight to my bedroom. It was awkward as all heck. Neither of us knew a dang way to make any of our fantasies happen. He was super into anal, which had somehow never come up and I had never done. I didn't want to disappoint, so I agreed. No lube, no condom. It hurt like heck. I finally had to end it. He went back in me without washing. I got an infection. He tried to ask me to suck him off after that. I was like, heck no. I'm honestly not even sure if he finished. We stopped talking after that. That ending. Jeebus. Years ago tried to have shower sex with the hubby. Was way more cramped than expected, but we persisted. While in the middle of the act I went to put my leg up on the edge of the tub, to try and get a more comfortable position. Unfortunately he thrusted a bit more forcefully than I expected. Due to the way we were oriented I was already leaning slightly forward, and was standing on my non-dominant leg. When this happened I lost my balance just enough to have my foot slip out from under me. I fell straight down and banged my chin on the tub faucet. Ended up having to get stitches. Told the doctor I fell in the shower. Didn't mention the whole sex gone wrong part. He knew. I once fricked a chick and the only thing I was wearing was Velcro strap shoes. Nothing went wrong. I just wanted to share that. Rented a hotel room with a hot tub and mirrors on the ceiling for a drug and sex fueled weekend. Discovered a false ceiling and a camera attached to the mirror, which was a one-way mirror. After the festivities were over, realized that all the complimentary pee was filmed in a room that was suspiciously identical to the one we were in. Did not call cops because late 80s. What the frick? I'm late but oh well. One time I bought a black corset and connected black pantyhose to it, like a whole lingerie outfit with heels like the models at Victoria's Secret. I told my ex I had a special surprise for him. I changed in his bathroom and when I came out he just laughed at me. Never doing anything like that again. Your ex sounds like a real butthole. Don't let that stop you from doing something special for someone who'll actually appreciate the effort. Had a threesome with GF and cute girl from party. I drank a lot of whiskey.
Let's go, man. Let's go.
Most awkward night of my life. Why does God hate me? Arranged one with the GF and a mutual FWB. Our first threesome. Both are submissive, and I got too drunk to coordinate and it fell apart. Still super pee about it. Had a fantasy about having sex with this guy known to be super well hung. He wasn't even that cute, but girls were obsessed with him and I had never been with anybody super big, so I wanted to experience it. First few minutes are okay but kind of uncomfortable. Not too bad though, and I was getting annoyed with how slow he was. Told him to frick me hard. He said, "Are you sure?" I said yes. I spent the next 3 hours curled up in a ball crying because he had bruised my cervix. Turns out he wasn't anywhere near fully inside me when I told him to amp it up, and it was so painful and horrible that I refused to sleep with anybody over 8 inches. No thank you. Never. Again. I learned the hard way that I am just not built for that at all. Most women's cervix are only 6-7 inches deep. Went to have anal for the first time with an ex-girlfriend of mine and it was awful. She cried and it smelled horrible.
Well,
Never
the comic doesn't look like it's done anything.
House, don't be surprised when poop is there. But yes, even after evicting the tenant, it can still be pretty stinky and dang painful for men. Hope your GF was alright. This is pretty tame, but the result was horrible and sad. Always wanted to frick my GF with a double-ended dildo. We decided to buy ourselves one and it was our first ever sex toy purchase. On the site there were 2 that looked exactly the same, but one was much longer and wider. You know where this is going. So of course my dumb butt sent her the link to the bigger one. Neither of us could fit it in.
Let's look at this thing.
She's in the process of trying to discreetly dispose of it now.
Don't let it
Donated to a Catholic
it's
thrift
not a
store.
he or she or anything of that sort.
You can subscribe.
So we shouldn't give it a name. I'm gonna fuck that. We'll call it It. Oh my god. This is really decrepit. Let's take a second look. So doctor office. We already know that.
She then dropped into my office to ask me to file a fee dispute against the attorney who represented her in the personal injury action. That attorney took a little over $260,000 on this case. If you're doing the math at home,
where the dragon has been, but we killed the dragon, and we still got eggs, so this guy has been multiple dimensions. That's the only possible explanation. But it looks like, yeah, he was running out of food.
I rejected the case out of hand and then
he only had a little bit of food, but he did not have a crafting table.
Sounds like she would have sued for your fees if you had taken the case.
He has a beacon, so I killed the wheat with her.
Wanted me to sue her previous
I don't know what that dead bush is.
It
could have been an actual bush.
No work to justify
and she had some water bottles.
Gave me what she told me was the lawyer's total
this
work
is his
product.
power
A page
source,
printed
which
off the internet for which she said she was charged thousands of dollars for legal advice. She had already brought a claim via my jurisdiction's disciplinary body for lawyers.
It looks like he has an entire power source just for this. He had a little farm that did not produce enough food, I guess.
And she came in with multiple files full of immaculate legal work that totally justified the fees she was fighting.
Okay, so we all know.
But she wasted a lot of my time before we realized she was full of
abandoned
crap.
he died.
A friend of
His
mine
house
was
got
in a case where a guy was accused of graffiti vandalism.
This comet that which warped my entire dimension
like this.
into new
Judge,
dimensions.
Sir, did you make this graffiti? Defendant.
And now,
no,
all this is happening.
J, but it has your signature at the
bruh.
end. D. Yes.
I don't even
An
know where
artist
these
has to sign
trees
his
came
work.
from.
Case closed. Worked in-house for a famous character company with a large fan base. A few crazies a year call in. A guy called in claiming that we stole characters that he created and demanded to be compensated. I calmly asked them to provide more details so I can determine whether this has any merit to it. He states he designed the characters himself and gave it to the well-known actual creator when he was a kid, and the creator pawned them off as his own. I asked him when he was born, and it's a good 20 years after these characters were actually created. I ask him to explain this, and he pivots and says he also created some other well-known famous characters and brands. Characters and brands that are not owned by my company. I kindly ask that if he wants to pursue anything to send us something in writing and hang up. I figured if he wasn't going to do some really basic research on his own claim, he wasn't going to spend any time to write it up. Never heard from him again. This sounds like a guy I know that tried to claim that he created Toothless as a character 2 years after the first HTTYD movie came out. He also tried to tell me that he was an alien. I'm talking he 100% believed that himself and went on and on about how he was waiting for them to take him home. My dad had a client who was on trial for being a felon in possession of firearms,
Oh, and also those boxes
possession
are
of
just
stolen
YouTube
property,
boxes,
burglary, and distribution of
Still no plans
narcotics.
to get
Guy
my own
had multiple
figure.
pictures of himself on Facebook
They haven't
holding
really reached
guns,
out.
drugs,
Well,
and
for
cash,
this,
and had
they
videos
have
of
reached
himself
out
both
about
breaking into
something
someone's
else. I'm
house
not
and
sure if I
stealing
should
a
talk
gun as well
about
as
it.
selling crack on several occasions.
Let's just say
Despite my
maybe
dad
or maybe
basically
not.
telling
There
the genius he was
may
going
or
to
may
prison
not
either
be a
way, and
figure
to plead out
coming,
for a
may or
reduced
may
sentence.
not.
Dude still pleaded not guilty. We still occasionally joke that the guy clearly wasn't competent to stand trial by virtue of being so dumb.
Maybe.
I don't understand people's
Let's still
fascination
book
for
one. You
posting
got a
their
problem? You got
crimes
a
on
problem?
Facebook.
Oh, fuck. Okay, they got a problem. They got a problem.
At the hospital he worked at, was sued by a gentleman after he saved his wife's life. Details. Patient is pregnant with 8th child and miscarries. The fetus is removed but the patient starts bleeding uncontrollably. The only option available is a hysterectomy. It was either that, or she dies right there on the table. My dad gets called in to do the surgery. Performs it successfully. Hooray. The patient's husband is quite devout and beyond P that his wife can't have any more kids. So he sued the hospital. No firm would represent him, and he ended up bringing proceedings himself. Went all the way to trial and he lost hard. Probably my client charged with statutory rape, multiple counts, who impregnated his high school sweetheart's daughter after having sex with said daughter from the ages of 13 to 15. He was 35 at the time of the birth. DNA in the form of a baby is strong evidence for the state. She lived on a large riverfront block. She had a jetty for a boat. A large tree fell over in storm and landed mostly in the water and making it difficult to moor her boat. She wanted to sue the government for not taking away her fallen tree. Not a lawyer. I was a jailer and used to pull double duty as a bailiff. A guy stole a pickup truck and was later captured passed out behind the wheel parked on a sidewalk surrounded by a ludicrous amount of drugs and guns. His legal defense. He elected to represent himself because he wasn't done being stupid. Double jeopardy. You can't charge me for theft, drugs, and felon in possession of a weapon because I've already been convicted of those charges before. In short, during his jury trial, he admitted to doing it but explained with a smug grin that since he had already done time for the same charges from another case before that he could not be prosecuted for them ever again.
But
this is
what
not how double
happened
jeopardy
exactly?
works, folks.
Because there's
He's
no
in prison
ice, so
for 20
he couldn't have
years
thrown
now.
it.
If he'd taken legal counsel, he could have
It
easily
couldn't just
cut a
collapse
deal
by
for
itself.
5.
It was just super powerful.
I represented a tree trimming
Mr.
company that
is
went to the
fucking
wrong
dead,
address
so
and cut
it's
down
no
all the mature
possibility.
trees in that yard.
Maybe
And
he
the
could
right
just
address was
maybe
100 North XXXX Street, and the company went to
we
100
should put the
South
dogs inside
XXXX
and then we
Street and
could
just
fight.
went straight at it, hacking away. I still have no idea why the insurance company didn't just settle that one pursuit. Our legal advice is salivating. Not me, but my dad's
if
lawyer.
I get
My dad's
this,
ex-wife
this, or
decided that
this,
they weren't getting on with
I
divorce
won't
proceedings
this,
fast enough
this,
and
or
decided
this,
to
or
make a
this.
move
I
while
won't
my
kill
dad
them.
was at
But
work
if I
and we
get
were all at
this,
school.
this,
So she
this,
locked my little brother in my
not
room,
this, or
the only
this,
one
I'll
they
kill them.
didn't touch, and called over
3,
40 plus
2,
people to
1.
take whatever she thought was hers. So pretty much everything, including furniture, old music and pictures from before she was even around. I show up to the house to pick up my little brother and it's empty. I don't know what she thought was gonna happen when she possessed many things that were obviously my dad's, like pictures of just me and him, or the computer that he bought through his job at Dell. My dad sued her 3 times and won every time. She just got caught laundering money from the summer camp she worked at and my old Boy Scout troop, that her son was now in. Frick her. Interestingly enough, my dad just remarried to a district attorney. Dad in his 60s hadn't been paying child support for decades and he owed more than $60K for 2 kids who were adults now. He was basically living at a farm in the middle of nowhere so no one could find him. He worked for cash so the money could not be garnished from anywhere. He then came into an inheritance, which was deposited in his bank account and promptly confiscated by family maintenance. He wanted it back. Yes, well, we all have wants, Simon. A lady was sacked by a large company. They had caught her embezzling money to fund a gambling habit. They had clear evidence the embezzling had occurred, and she did not deny it. She sued the company for $300,000 for unfair dismissal. My sister's firm represented the company against this woman. The case was so easy, the firm gave it to my sister as her first ever solo attempt. My sister screwed it up badly. Not only did she lose, the court awarded the woman $500,000 instead of the $300,000 she asked for. In the end, it was a good career move. The partners all knew her name and dropped into her office, one by one, to offer their sympathy. Worked in family law in California for like 2 years before deciding I'd hang myself if I didn't change career paths. In TA, the obligation to pay spousal support, alimony, ends when the recipient begins cohabitation with a new romantic partner. A guy who was positively getting fricks in half in his monthly payments came to the office and said he was aware of the rule about cohabitation and wanted me to
What do you think
his
about
point in
this?
court.
What do you think?
His ex was a
Oh,
narcissist she was in love with and had begun cohabiting
you think that'll stop me?
with herself.
Nothing can stop me, I'm killing you.
Count the same as if there were a romantic partner there. He was bordering on begging me to
Boyd
take his money.
and Mrs. Boyd will not die in vain, you stupid black bitch.
Dude wrote 3 songs about murdering someone. Murdered 2 people in his vehicle. Drove them to the hospital and said it was a drive-by. The shell casings of the bullets were in his car. Cell phone GPS pings him at the murder scene. He said he'd murder them in text messages and the dude pleads not guilty. I imagine that if you take a job like that you probably have to disconnect emotionally and just play the part, as if it were a speech and debate exercise. Then, after your client of course loses, you go cash your paycheck. A lady didn't pay her general contractor upwards of $20K after the job was finished because of a dozen or so minor complaints, like he was slow. Told her she should pay and we could help her with her complaints, else he will probably be successful getting a lien on her home. She didn't pay. He got a lien on her home. Even offered to help her stash the funds in escrow pending their dispute, and would prevent a lien in the meantime. No. My best guess is that she didn't have the money and was attempting a tantrum to get out of it. This was my 1L internship, literally the first person to ever approach me in a legal capacity. Later that fall, she showed up to my school and was demanding my info from the front office, who handled it well and I never saw her.
Damage. No more damage. No more damage.
Pay and lost your home.
Die.
Surprise Pikachu face. My brother's a lawyer. His client took a backhoe, dug up a standalone ATM and scooped it onto a flatbed truck. Then, and only then, noticed a security camera nearby filming everything. He got some black spray paint out of his truck, went up 2 inches away, really entire
5, 10 years. You will fucking die.
This demonstrates the importance of coming up with a complete project plan at the start rather than winging it. It's much easier to fix these things in PowerPoint than it is later on.
I have another bucket.
I read a patent and told my bosses it was both invalid and infringed by no one. It had 10 means for elements and each patent claimed that no one would practice. All that weren't supported in the written description. Partners, my bosses, new to patent protection, sued on the patent anyway using young, inexperienced, unseasoned attorneys in the firm. 3 years later, after billing the client millions of dollars, every defendant won by proving each claim either not infringed or invalid. Then my employer appealed and billed the client another load of money, with a young attorney in charge of the appeal that didn't understand the underlying issues on any level because he was a former teacher instead of patent attorney. It was such a bad patent no one would settle at any point in the case. My bosses were blood-sucking trolls. I quit for these and similar parallel reasons. The firm finally imploded. Not a lawyer, but I am a trades union representative. At the last company I worked, we had a great set of workers. My colleague was the head representative for the union at the time, whereas I was still learning to be a representative. Anyway, we had this electrician who worked at the company for 25 plus years. Really well respected, but his views are a little out there. My colleague had just got him back to work after a case of inappropriate workplace behavior, kissing an office member of staff on the cheek, where he was suspended for 6 months whilst investigations went ahead. He came back with a final written warning, meaning one more incident and he was sacked. All his pension, benefits, gone. 2 days after he came back, me and my colleague got asked to come into a meeting regarding this employee. Got in the meeting. Senior HR and the boss of the company are sat inside. They lay out new allegations. So we have had a report that when working in a property, you went into the house when there was only a 14-year-old girl and then proceeded to talk to her about sex, condoms and other obscene matters we won't mention. So we're just like, whoa, wait, what the heck, we need to talk to our colleague and find out what's happened here and give him advice. Nope, before we even had a chance to do that, the guy spoke up and went, yeah, I did. Nothing wrong with that. She's 14. She knows how to use a condom. She's from the area. That's all they know how to do. They have sex and get pregnant by 16. So I'm just talking to her about what she knows. Dude was in his late 50s, he should know better. Both me and my colleague just stunned like, why the frick did he just say that? Anyway, he got suspended and asked us to defend him because he says he did nothing wrong. We got the case file and evidence through. Realized that there was actually frick all we could do. He dug his grave. Dug it a day after he returned to work. He lost everything. His house, pension, everything. No one would employ him as he was deemed too risky to take on, knowing they could have a potential sex scandal should he do it again. I'm a paralegal. Local guy in his 20s decides to go rob his dealer. He got the wrong apartment. When the college girl opened the door, he shot her in the face and fled. She lay there for hours just out of reach of her cell phone, and listened to it ring while her mom called. She lived. A neighbor found her. Now she's paralyzed from the neck down, and her face is very deformed. This is a small town. During the trial, the jury was shown just how strung out on drugs he was, and how he even bragged to a few friends that he shot someone. That's pretty dang hard to defend. He got 40-something years. The girl that drove him to and from the apartment was also given jail time. That poor freaking woman. I can't help but think about the fact that she has to live with knowing that her life has been completely destroyed because of something that she had nothing at all to do with. I would be bitter as all heck. It's like a 100-way tie for first place. Spoiler alert, they had the drugs on them. Less frequently, it was a gun. And yeah, let's just say the I have a permit defense for the latter was not something we had to worry about round those parts. You'll be surprised how quickly cases become at least theoretically defensible as soon as you establish any distance whatsoever between the client and the contraband. Though, in fact, I'd say there's a systematic bias in juries, and lots of inconsistency in the relevant case law, about how difficult it is, and or ought to be, to prove possession beyond a reasonable doubt. Those, of course, in favor of the prosecution. Guy wanted me to sue the city because the city took too long to bust his neighbor's illegal garbage disposal
This world
business.
could never end
Guy claimed
unless
his
it was
neighbor's house had
deleted.
mice because of the garbage
But that
truck
doesn't
that
mean
was
I
parked
won't
there when
try
it
and
wasn't
try
hauling
and
garbage.
kill you
He said
over
the
and over
neighbor's mice
again
were causing his house to have
you
mice,
give up.
reducing the value
I'll
of his
never
house so
give
he
up.
couldn't sell it. I asked him how long he had been trying to sell his
Wait,
house.
yes,
He said he wasn't
I've
trying
reached
to
the
sell
core.
it yet. I asked him what he had done about the mice so far. He said he called the city to have them get rid of the mice, but the city refused. I asked when he reported the neighbor's illegal garbage disposal business. He told me he never reported it. The city just towed the garbage truck after the neighbor was arrested for some unrelated crime, DUI. I asked the guy how he knew all this, and he said the neighbor and him were partners in the illegal garbage disposal business, and his neighbor's old lady told him about the arrest and the towed garbage truck. An independent mortgage broker from a small town on the East Coast. One day, he just up and left without notifying his clients. Fast forward a few months later and one of his former clients discovers significant mistakes in her residential mortgage paperwork that caused massive issues with the bank. costing thousands in legal fees to rectify. Naturally, she wants to recover damages. Only the broker can't be found. Office is boarded up for non-payment of rent. His house is up for sale, and nobody knows where he went. The only indication of his whereabouts was his Facebook profile. He was swimming with dolphins somewhere sunny with his teenage daughter, which infuriated the plaintiff. Fortunately, he paid his insurance up front and it hadn't expired, so he would be defended by us through the insurer. When I finally got in touch with him after 2 months, he explained that he'd lost all interest in the profession about a year ago. Since then, he took on clients or helped existing ones, but with basically zero financial background checks and absolutely no regard for the structure or timing of the transaction. He was rubber stamping everyone and everything. His work was so shoddy and his file management so poor that we had basically nothing to go on. He was dead to rights, and he didn't care at all. Then one day he declared bankruptcy, signed the house over to a trustee, and got a short-term visa to live in Australia where his daughter was studying. We settled that one quickly as he had no intention of returning for trial, and we'd probably never be paid. We once had a client skip bail and run. I looked him up on FB and he had posted a photo of the bond paperwork and a bunch of $20 bills. The post reads something like, "Man, frick the law and my bondsman. Can't nobody tell me crap. Blah blah. Typical hood crap. We live in BFE, Texas. Dude is not a gangster." Anyways, he didn't realize that the only reason we bonded him was because we were going to represent him. Withdrew on the bond in the case. In the motion to withdraw, we quoted his FB post and attached a copy of it as Exhibit A when we filed it. Not a lawyer, but I was a witness to an assault a few years back. Had to get up in the box and be questioned. Terrifying. Anyway, it was on a night out, hanging around outside a club. A female friend of mine took exception to some dude grabbing her butt. Both start slinging insults at each other until the guy decides to sling his fist at her face instead. Right in the presence of 3 police officers, who witnessed the whole thing and arrested him immediately. The guy for some reason denied it all, despite being caught literally red-handed by the popo, and it had to be resolved in court.
Stupid son of a bitch! Those are my turtles! Those are my turtles!
She worked for a hospital on a wrongful life case that was pretty miserable. Plaintiff had given birth to a baby with very severe congenital deformities. Plaintiff sued every health professional she saw while pregnant, claiming that if they had told her about the deformities, she would have aborted.
Turtles will not die in
Look
vain.
at medical records shows that the plaintiff never really pursued prenatal care. She went to a local emergency room very early in her pregnancy to get a pregnancy test, apparently common in impoverished communities. And she returned to that same ED a month later with abdominal pain. The ED doc did an ultrasound on her belly and determined the fetus was not in distress. But he did not do a thorough exam because he wanted to figure out where the belly pain was coming from. Not do an organ scan like an OB would. But she sued that hospital. Then she was arrested for check fraud and saw a physician in jail. But she didn't tell that doc about her pregnancy, so he didn't do an ultrasound at all. But she sued whoever provides that health care. The jail, maybe. Just a sad case that the hospital won handily. The real loser is that poor kid colon. I represent condo and homeowners associations. One of my condo association clients wanted to evict some tenants because they were fat. I am not even joking. Now, the law does, in some cases, allow the association to evict non-owner tenants. This is very fact-specific. However, I spent a long time trying to elicit from my client exactly what these tenants were doing that warranted eviction. Client, well, they are just disgusting people. They are fat. Page 1028. Exasperated. You can't evict someone because they're fat. He did not end up filing suit. I got sued for $50,000 by a man who claimed his arm was broken when he sideswiped my car at 2 a.m. We both got a DUI, and he was also cited for going the wrong way on the freeway. My attorney determined that the guy had been to the doctor the day before the accident and had received treatments to his broken arm. He was charged with filing a false police report and some other charges. Ended up doing 90 days in county lockup. I paid my fine, did the required procedure to get my license back, and learned my lesson. Obligatory, not a lawyer. But
Because
my
the
dad
dimension
was. My dad was a patent and
rift, it must
trademark
be
attorney
closed by
about 10
now,
years
because
ago
almost
and
nothing
worked for a
happened besides
pharmaceutical
that thing being
company.
done.
The owner of the company adopted the slogan, just
But
do it, not knowing that the
how
trademark
did it
belonged
get
to
out if
Nike.
it was
When the
really
owner found out
changed
that the
really
trademark
well?
belonged to one of the biggest companies in the
How would it
world,
be able to
rather
get
than
out?
change the slogan and avoid a lawsuit, he calls up Nike and expresses how funny he thinks it is that they have the same slogan. My dad got them to settle the case and the catchphrase was later changed. I had a guy want to sue a popular chain restaurant because he had a heart attack there. Couldn't say what the restaurant did wrong, but it was clearly their fault since it happened in their restaurant. No thanks. Luckily, I was on the other side of one of these ridiculous cases. I live in an area where liquor licenses are extremely valuable commodities. They can be transferred from one person to another, which is often easier than convincing a municipality to issue you a new one for your new bar restaurant. My client was opening up a new restaurant and found some wackadoo who had a liquor license that he was not using. I believe his bar previously folded. He agreed to sell his license to my client for about $250,000.
There was never,
The
it wasn't
contract had
that
a
thing.
minor notice
What if
provision,
the other thing
something like you have
escaped
to
and
send
it's still in
notice
this
of
world
whatever in
somehow,
7 days?
some
My client's
way?
former lawyer dropped the ball and sent it in 10 days. Now, the wackadoo received full
Think
payment
about
but
it.
decided that because his
That
minor
thing,
notice
I don't know
provision
where the
was
fuck the
breached,
black
he
thing
was
came
entitled
from,
to keep
okay?
both the license
But
and the money. There
think
is a
about it for
doctrine
a
of law
second.
called material breach of
Isn't it
contract,
very
which,
convenient
in
that
a nutshell,
this thing
means you can
escaped?
only sue for
That
breach of
thing
contract
is
if the breach
too big to
materially
fit in
impacts your
there,
contract rights. For
and
example,
void
if my client had
the
failed to
Mr.
pay for the license,
never
that would
had
be
a
a
piece
material
of
breach
that.
of contract. But getting a notice document 3 days late, when full payment had already been made, yes, it is a technical breach of the contract, but no court in the United States of America would deem that to be a material breach,
This is all
and
fake
certainly
though.
no court will let the wackadoo keep the
This
license
thing
and
must
the
be a
money.
whole setup.
So we sued the
Mister
wackadoo,
is
who
still alive
represented
somehow.
himself. He fought okay for a pro
Wait.
se, but the judge of course ruled against him because his position was crazy. Wackadoo kept the money and my client got the license. I'm not a lawyer,
Get out of my
but
fucking
my mother
inventory.
was in a lawsuit against her roommate and the roommate lost horribly.
Skeleton.
My mother, the
It's
nice
not a human
woman
skull.
that she was, heard
Okay,
a family
okay.
member's mother was going to be homeless.
Okay.
She was a bit crazy, which
It
later
can't be
turns
that
to really
thing
crazy,
that when it was
and
down
wasn't
there.
allowed
Look.
to be on the premises of her
Wait.
daughter's apartment
Was it?
complex for legal reasons.
Where does this pipe
She
go?
takes her and
Okay,
gives
so
her the
it
spare
went down
room.
there.
My mother worked as a hospice worker and stayed 4 nights a week at her client's home.
I guess
She
that
told her
mystery
new
does end.
roommate, who had nothing but a
It
verbal
was there
consent to stay in
to
her
there.
home, so no legal paperwork, no bills under her name, nothing but whatever random mail was sent to the roommate. Was told that she could stay, live there rent and bill free as long as she cared for the pets and house while my mom worked. This lady had changed locks,
Die!
hard drugs, moved, betrayed the house, stole items. The list goes on, but I'll cut it here to save a read. Well, my mother tells her she needs to leave and gives her over a month's notice to vacate her property. She did not, and after dozens of 911 calls and a legal notice to vacate after several trips to the local sheriff's office for help. As the roommate had squatters' rights, we managed to get her out and move on to court, as she had assaulted several of us between telling her to leave and her leaving. She represents herself and my mother. Myself and my then girlfriend with my mother's lawyer arrive. The lady was off at first speaking and she tried to lay out this massive defense. I have a copy of the lease, as well as several other documents making it illegal to remove me from this home. As well, I want to file charges against them for B&E, as well as verbal assault. The judge looks to us and we give them our statements, as well as all the videos we had recorded of us entering and company fronting the woman on this issue, and she was the only one screaming, cursing, and so on. As well, my mother and I, along with the home's actual owner, provide the actual lease. I signed on as a co-signer, though I did not live in the house, and all of which failed to have the roommate's signature on it. The charges on us were dropped almost immediately. She was charged with squatting, forging of legal documents, slander, and a few others I can't recall offhand. We were granted restraining orders against her. As well, she had to pay all the fines of the court and spend just over a year in jail. Sorry for a long one, but I hope someone enjoyed reading this. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video.
I'm not gonna delete that world. I don't want to go back to it for a while though. At least a month. At the most a year.
Turn today's dreams into tomorrow's trips.
Oh.
Divorce lawyers of Reddit. What plot twists, or crazy antics or demands have you seen go down from either spouse? Took the couple 2 hours to decide who would get the groceries left in the fridge. Estimated value of the groceries was around $40. 2 hours of my time, opposing counsel time, and mediator time added up to about $1,000. It all came down to a Costco Sam's Club sized jar of peanut butter. Who keeps peanut butter in the fridge? This is what happens when you negotiate on an empty stomach. I had a couple arguing for 3 hours over who got the kids on Christmas Day, only to discover at the end that they were both Jewish. I had another woman who said that her husband drained $60,000 from their community bank account to pay for a sex change operation that he never told her he was planning to do. I hate it when I find out I'm Jewish. I was a clerk for a law firm in Marin County. The husband grew weed in the house. The town was supportive and even let him redo his electrical panel to accommodate his crop. Long story short, in the divorce, she demanded half of the weed proceeds. Today it doesn't seem like a big deal, but 12 years ago I was shocked to see that in a court document. My dad was a divorce attorney for some time. He said people would argue over $150 patio furniture for hours on end at a $300 HRA. Over the years, 4chan has become infamous thanks to a handful of events that involve internet vigilantism.
Do we even know who is this 4chan?
Today we're going to be talking about one of those events. It's actually kind of a deep cut. It's the tale of a time when 4chan users banded together to launch a trolling campaign on a mother who opted to punish her children in a public way on the internet. So what exactly did the kids do? Why were they being punished? Well, apparently eBay user Danny21, the mother in this situation, had discovered that her bathtub was completely destroyed by her 2 boys, who were playing with Beyblades in the tub using it as a battle arena. So as punishment, Danny21 snatched up these Beyblade toys from her kids and put them up for auction on eBay. This not only was a punishment, but she had planned to get some money from this auction to go towards fixing the bathtub itself. But what she got instead was the users of 4chan's B-board swarming this auction and completely fucking everything up. This is the story of how 4chan messed up this mom's Beyblade eBay auction. This video is sponsored by Extra Wallets. My link extra.com/wavywebsurf gets you up to 20% off their entire store. Link in the description and more about them later. Our story begins in February of 2011 with this listing posted to eBay. The listing is titled Selling Beyblades to Replace Destroyed Bathtub and attaches an image of 2 kids, one of them noticeably upset and the other giving what is more or less a blank stare into space. And the kid on the right is holding a plastic Ziploc bag full of Beyblade toys.
Beyblade, let it rip.
It was a rather eye-catching listing, and the post only got better as you went down and read the listing description. We're selling 8 Beyblades. 2 of them light up. As you can tell, they're not happy about this. They have been using their bathtub as a battle arena, and Beyblades plus bathtub equals destruction. With the metal ones, they managed to scrape the enamel off the tub, take a chunk of the tub out, and break off the soap holder. So if you win this auction, don't play with in the bathtub. We have received a quote of $500 to replace the tub, some tiles, and soap holder, plus labor, of course. They had approximately $125.67 in their piggy banks. That will also be going towards the cost. We will use the profit from this auction towards the balance, and then it is on to other toys. Good luck bidding, PayPal only. I'm sure Danny posted this listing expecting to have several eBay users stumble upon it thinking it's cute and maybe, put in a legitimate bid to buy up these Beyblades. But no, that's not what happened at all. And that being said, on February 5th, the auction would get its first viral boost when an image of the entire listing with Danny's description was posted to the rpic subreddit with the caption reading, "The saddest eBay auction." Most of the reactions from the Redditors in the thread seemed to be laughing at the post, finding the idea of some disgruntled mom punishing her kids publicly online like this to be funny. But not everyone thought it was funny. There were some that thought publicly humiliating or shaming your kids in this way on the internet was pretty jacked up. Quote, these parents are pretty fucked up. When you have kids, you have to assume collateral damage. You can't expect your kids to pay for stuff they messed up while being kids. And Reddit wasn't the only community whose interest was piqued by this post. 4chan's B would enter the battle. So what did B do here? Let me set the stage. eBay's biggest draw as a website obviously is the auction feature, where if you want to buy something, you can place a bid and oftentimes get a better deal on it by placing a bid than if you just went and bought it outright at full price. And naturally, if an item is highly sought after or there's a lot of attention placed on one item, you're going to have guys bidding up the price hoping they can win it before the auction timer runs out. Normally, this would be a good thing for a seller like Danny21, because in theory that would mean she would get more money for her listing of Beyblades to go towards paying for this tub. The only problem is that if you really wanted to, you can submit fraudulent bids fucking up the entire system. And while eBay will likely suspend your account if you're caught sending in fraudulent bids, for throwaway accounts or for people who don't really care about their eBay account, the system can easily be abused by bad actors, and you can have fake bids bringing the price of items up, pretty much ensuring that you won't get an actual buyer because the price is sky high artificially. And that's pretty much what would happen in this situation. The same day that the Reddit post was made, a post was created on 4chan's B with an image of the kids and a link to the eBay listing. Users quickly became engaged in the replies, joking about the situation, in theory crafting ways that they could mess with Danny21 for posting this and putting her kids on blast. They decided that the best way to do it would be to artificially increase the price of the listing using the method I discussed earlier, which in turn would likely prompt eBay to terminate the auction outright, screwing things up for Danny. So they got to work sending in fraudulent bids to Danny21's Beyblade auction, causing the price to skyrocket.
We like the stock. We like the stock.
It began at $69, but after several hours passed, it got insane.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
Within a few more hours, it goes to $10,000, eventually reaching ludicrous levels like $500,000. And by the end of the day, you get to just under $1 million for this bag of Beyblade toys. Alongside this price gouging, you started having 4chan users taunt Danny21 through eBay messages with stuff like this. I work for a construction company specializing in refurbishing buildings for use as office space. My 2 children love Beyblades. I ran across this auction and was actually quite horrified. I mean, I'd never considered that we could use these things for stripping buildings. Amazing when you consider my kids have been playing with them for a couple of years. Based on your own experiences, how many metal Beyblades do you think we would need to let rip to strip a 1,200 square foot warehouse? And how quickly would they accomplish the task? Yours in Christ. And realizing she was getting screwed with, Danny21 responds with this.
Do you plan to pay over $9,000 for the Beyblades? Or is this a joke to you? Because this has been a problem all day, and I'm going to report to eBay. Thanks.
And this was B just getting started. Next, they got to work creating various Photoshop edits of the kids. 4chan was certainly having a good time with the event. Unfortunately, though, it wasn't all harmless fun here. As to be expected from some of the more unruly members of B, Danny21 was doxxed, which resulted in personal information being spread across the board. Not the best look. The situation went from pretty harmless to nasty after this dox. Some users felt like she deserved it for putting her kids on blast. This was some 4chan justice, but I think you and I both know that doxing somebody for this is taking it too far. Hell, doxing here could actually put more than just Danny21 in danger. It could endanger the whole family in the process. After much chicanery from 4chan and all of the fake bidding and incessant messaging, the infamous eBay listing was removed from the site, and it was assumed that their intervention prompted eBay to remove Danny21 21's listing. It looked like Danny 21 would be paying for these bathtub repairs out of pocket. Closure on this situation came sometime later after Danny 21 got in contact with the editors of KnowYourMeme.com, and in their correspondence she revealed the details of what caused the listing's removal. I wanted to let you know that eBay took the listing down because of all the fake bids. We do have the option to relist. I did not violate any eBay codes, but we are undecided if we will. We received several hundred emails in the hours that we had the listing up. Most of the emails were not very nice and not sure if we are willing to deal with that again. Evidently, she was pretty sick of the entire process and didn't want to try her hand with the internet again on this Beyblade listing, as she would run the risk of getting the ire of 4chan again. And that brings us to the end of this story. I think if anything is to be learned from this case is that you should never involve the internet in your parenting. You never know who online you're going to piss off, and there are some on the internet with ample amounts of time on their hands and would love nothing.
My motto is slow and steady wins the race because I want to collect a ton of resources.
Because I want to collect a bunch of resources from this game that I totally am playing and not just playing over an ad.
I had a completely different video planned for this week, but unfortunately I've had to delay it while I wait for some spares to be delivered. So at the last minute I've pulled this off the shelf. A while ago, the chap asked me to review one of these. I think he knew it was going to be awful, but he just wanted to hear me say so. So I bought one, and I just couldn't face it in the end.
Over the years, 4chan has become infamous thanks to a hand...
What the fuck is this? Just one more of this kind of
4chan
one.
has become infamous thanks to a handful of events that involve internet vigilante. If
Good
you were to have a discussion about notorious online communities, it's important.
If you went out and asked the
average person who, lives a productive, fulfilling life outside of the internet and in the real world, what they thought about 4chan, they probably describe it as some kind of online hive of villainy, filled to the brim with hackers and bad words. The emboldeners of society's worst elements. Terrorizers of many a van and public pool. But the truth is, as far back as you can go, 4chan has always had a little bit of a soft underbelly. And this soft underbelly often manifested itself as a love of cats. And God help anybody who did anything bad to cats. So for this episode of Tales from the Internet, I present to you the story of the cat abuser, Kenny Glenn.
Okay, so this
episode is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with over 25,000 classes on design, business, and more. Over the past few months, I've been trying to up my editing game, so I've been taking Jordy Vandeput's class. Learn Adobe After Effects CC 2019 for beginners. Premium membership to Skillshare gives you unlimited access, so you can take all the classes you like and join communities of like-minded.
Even if it is kind of fucked up, they destroyed a bathtub. You know, what if she needed one? Like, what if, like, she had a rough day at work and she had, like, some, like, toxic fluid on her arm or something and she needed a bath and she couldn't because the one was destroyed by her boys. And then if she tried to take a shower, she could have stepped on broken, like, glass or something. Or broken, whatever the fuck bathtubs are made of.
Exactly. Well, when Saturday came around, you went to 4chan and you posted cats.
Sorry, that wasn't really needed, but 4chan kind of sucks.
And then you know it spreads to that shitty fucking lolcat site, which is basically all just re-uploaded 4chan content. And you got friends coming to be like, hey dude, you gotta check out this lolcat stuff, it's so random. And then you have Ike and Has Cheeseburger, which comes around and completes the gentrification of Catterday. But you know what, it wasn't a hill worth dying on 12 years ago. I'm not gonna get hung up on that right now. Back to the point, 4chan liked cats, because who doesn't like cats? And it was on February 15th of 2009 when 4chan's affinity for cats was put to the test, when two videos were uploaded to a YouTube channel named Glenn Spam 1. I'm not going to show you the full videos, but I will describe what happened in them. The videos depict a kid in pajamas and a balaclava going by the name Timmy, and he's holding a little gray cat. While being recorded by another kid, he announces that he's going to be going into his laboratory. Once he's in his laboratory, the kid, Timmy, grabs the cat named Dusty and repeatedly slams him against the wall. And in the other video, Timmy repeatedly sprays Dusty with an unknown liquid. The videos find their way onto V quickly after being uploaded, where people immediately spring into action trying to figure out who this kid is. Looking through the comments of one of the YouTube videos, the name Mike Glenn emerges. This leads people to find a person named Mike Glenn in upstate New York, and Mike Glenn of upstate New York quickly begins receiving threatening messages. However, Mike Glenn turned out to be a false lead. The harassment got so bad that eventually the local police department had to contact the news to release a statement that Mike Glenn had absolutely nothing to do with these videos. And for a while it seemed like this investigation might have just been a dead end because there was so little that could be found from that YouTube channel. But a little bit more digging led people to another Glenn Spam 1 account, not on YouTube, but on a site called HaitiWow.com. And the Glenn Spam 1 account on HaitiWow.com had a little bit more information. Namely, the zip code 73505, Lawton, Oklahoma. But that still only gives so much information, right? I mean, Lawton, Oklahoma has a population of nearly 94,000 people. What are you going to do, just go up and knock on every single door? But a few users had a theory that Glenn from Glenn Spam 1 was perhaps Timmy's last name. So they started searching around on Facebook for the perpetrator, and after a little bit of digging, they found someone. Not Timmy Glenn, but a person named Kenny Glenn. But considering how badly things went with the Mike Glenn lead, we needed absolute confirmation that this was the kid. How could such a confirmation be achieved? By comparing frames from the video to pictures on the Facebook page. And by comparing the green carpet, the wood skirting, the yellow wall, and the musical instruments in the background, positive identification was achieved. The Kenny Glenn found on Facebook was in fact Timmy from the video. And once the identity of Kenny Glenn was discovered, 4chan users began to post pictures of themselves and their cats with threats to Kenny Glenn. And other sites began to get in on it. Dig, Reddit, Facebook groups. The websites KennyGlenn.com and NeverForgetDusty.com were created to follow the story and mobilize people against Kenny Glenn. Other people began to dig and found increasingly identifying information about Kenny, including his MySpace profile, old racist YouTube comments, his parents' names, their phone numbers, the names of their businesses, and their home address and home phone number. With the phone number, of course, people began to call, and the first person who got through got Kenny Glenn's mother on the line. After getting on the phone with Kenny Glenn's mother and explaining what her son has done, she said that this was unacceptable and he would face immediate punishment. This punishment would take the form of having his bike taken away. Not exactly a satisfactory outcome. Unsatisfied, people started having pizzas delivered to their house, signing them up for magazine descriptions, and oh yeah, they did call the cops. But the thing is, when the cops got involved, they were given the wrong address, so after that, they started to ignore any more correspondence about the cat. See, the pizzas made their way to the right address, but the police, wrong address. Thankfully, however, the local news also got involved, who contacted the police once again. This time they gave the police the right address, and the next day KSW News of Lawton, Oklahoma reported this. Comanche County. 2 teenage brothers accused of beating a cat will meet Tuesday with investigators and the Comanche County District Attorney. The courthouse was closed Monday for President's Day, but Comanche County Sheriff Kenny Stradley said the teens will face charges of animal cruelty from District Attorney Robert Schultz's office. Stradley says the teens uploaded a video to YouTube that shows one of them beating a cat named Dusty while his brother ran the camera. 7 News called Sheriff Stradley Sunday afternoon to find out if he was investigating the incident, and he said he had not heard about it. He came to the 7 News station and watched the video. Within hours, his team identified the suspects and met with their parents. Stradley says they are furthering their investigation to see if the 2 brothers abused other animals in addition to Dusty. 7 News discovered proof this wasn't the first time they abused the cat. The local sheriff then released another statement. Update. Sheriff Stradley of Lawton, Oklahoma said, the horrifying day may be over for the cat, but is just getting started for its abusers. We'll put it together and take it to the DA. It will be up to the DA whether or not he files charges or not. Our job is to put the investigation together as a case and take it to the DA, and that's what we'll do. Stradley says the teens responsible were released to their parents by the DA, and they and their lawyer will meet with investigators to determine their fate on Tuesday. Dusty, the cat, is alive and was taken to a veterinarian where it will remain until the investigation is complete. And during their investigation, it was found that there is actually another video, this time with the Glenn brothers abusing a black and white cat. Both cats were taken into custody, and it was said that they would not be returned to the Glenn's home. And a lot of people were really eager to find out about Dusty's status, prompting them to contact the veterinarian, but the veterinarian started to get flooded, prompting KSW News to send a letter to neverforgetdusty.com. The sheriff is a bit worried about a lot of phone calls being made to the vet. He's concerned about overloading the office that's trying to help Kitty. Dusty's in the care of private vet, don't know who, and the sheriff's not saying. Please tell everyone to keep checking, and the second we have video, it'll be up. We're all quite excited about helping get information up quickly. I also noticed that some folks were concerned about the station not covering the racially charged stuff too, but the focus of the story was Dusty. I appreciate you keeping everything posted and updated. It's hard work, I know. It seems as if everyone scratched everyone's back in this case of abuse. Tubes, the news, authorities. As you must imagine, I'm online all day, and if I see something in our area dramatic like this, I'm all over it. Credit for the coverage on the news should go to our weekend crew, who had they not made the call, the video may not have made it up until Monday. Everyone saved Dusty the cat, and I'm proud of us all. You all are great. Keep up the good fight. We love Dusty too.
With Square, you can serve tableside, outside, inline, and online. You can make workflows easier for your team and get food out on time, every time. These are the tools that connect your restaurant from kitchen to community.
So what wound up being the fate of the cat abuser Kenny Glenn? A few days later, although it's basically impossible to have a conversation about Scientology these days without tons of mockery, that wasn't always the case. Not because it was a much more respected institution at any other point, but because most people didn't really know what it was all about. I remember seeing Dianetics commercials on TV as a kid and being intrigued by the alluring graphics and the cryptic promises, but if you asked me what it was actually about, I couldn't tell you. And at that point in time, most people's awareness of Scientology was limited to commercials like that and solicitors in the streets and subway stations. People, by and large, just weren't aware of things like Xenu or Thetans or any of the church's more serious controversies. But the public's consciousness of Scientology began to grow more as a bunch of very popular celebrities started to join. In particular, Tom Cruise became one of their most outspoken advocates. But in the early 2000s, people's eyebrows began to raise as Tom Cruise's public appearances became more erratic, and he started to make much more controversial statements. Like that time in 2004 when he said that psychiatry should be abolished and he came at Brooke Shields for using antidepressants. That moment made a lot of people more aware of Scientology's opposition to mainstream mental health care. And although he did get a lot of criticism for that, what really pushed things to the next level was this Oprah appearance.
He's in the building!
This appearance primed the internet to make fun of Tom Cruise, and it led to what I consider to be one of the greatest YTMNEs of all time. Tom Cruise kills Oprah. And with that Oprah appearance, you can see people start making the connection between Tom Cruise's nuttiness and Scientology, but it would take another push for Scientology to become the laughingstock of the internet. And that push would come with the 12th episode of the 9th season of South Park, entitled Trapped in the Closet. This episode of South Park was essentially a half hour of mockery directed at Tom Cruise and the Church of Scientology. This episode also served the purpose of, for the first time, exposing the general public to the inner workings of Scientology's belief system. You probably remember the parts of the episode captioned with, "This is what Scientologists actually believe." So the episode winds up being a massive success and is to this day still regarded as one of the best episodes ever. It also had the effect of alienating one of its main stars, Isaac Hayes, who himself was a member of the Church of Scientology. There is a place in this world for satire, but there is a time when satire ends and intolerance and bigotry towards religious beliefs of others begins. The 63-year-old Hayes said in a statement issued earlier Monday, "Religious beliefs are sacred to people, and at all times should be respected and honored," Hayes said. "As a civil rights activist of the past 40 years, I cannot support a show that disrespects those beliefs and practices." This clash between South Park and Isaac Hayes got a lot of attention in the news, bringing the debate over Scientology into the mainstream even more than it had ever been before. So now, even though South Park already had a massive audience, you had people who didn't even watch the show taking a look. And right away, the episode spawns tons of memes, tons of mockery directed towards Scientology and L. Ron Hubbard on the internet. And in particular, YTM&T, You're the Man Now Dog, becomes a major hub of anti-Scientology content. You have a lot of people making sites that are basically clips from the episode of South Park, and then you also have a lot of people making sites that are basically just making fun of L. Ron Hubbard and whatnot. But this was something that it was very likely the community would have gotten over it quickly enough and just moved on to the next thing. But then, the Church of Scientology did the thing you don't do when you want something to go away. They issued a legal threat.
Imaginary lines that lie between us. It's just lines. You see us.
There's map. Ooh, clock. I actually like those. Oh, god damn! I hate drowns. Like, why did they add those? This makes you not want to go into the whole biome you just made. Oh, we're not that far. You know, you can be my food source. Fine, I'm fine with that.
L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of the Scientology religion. We also represent the Church of Scientology International, CSI, the owner of the copyright in the graphic image file depicting the Scientology logo website, Scientology.org.
Wait, do I have an iron
CSI is
axe?
also the exclusive licensee of the trademarks and service marks of the Scientology religion, blah, 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 and then they make a list of copyright infringing YTM&D sites that have various logos, pictures of L. Ron Hubbard and whatnot. You know, fair use be damned, they demand that they all be taken down. And if you've seen my video about YTM&D versus E-Bomb's World, you already know that YTM&D's owner, Max Goldberg, was not one to take legal threats lying down. Rather than caving to the Church of Scientology's demands, what Max did was he changed the front page of YTMD.com to now include a Scientology sites section, which of course encouraged users to make even more sites about Scientology. And while there was a lot of fun and jokes and mockery to be had, things took a more serious turn when Smooth Media uploaded this site. The Unfunny Truth About Scientology. In The Unfunny Truth About Scientology, Smooth Media takes a detour from making fun of the sillier aspects of their religion to focus on their more serious controversies. These controversies include things like attempts to infiltrate the government, a fair game policy, which basically grants members of the church permission to silence dissenters by any means necessary. And most importantly, it drew attention to the Lisa McPherson case. Lisa McPherson was a longtime Scientology member who was very, very involved in the church. Over the years, she invested thousands of dollars of her own money into the church's various programs. And in 1995, after being involved in a minor car accident, she was found walking naked in the streets. After she was found, she was brought to a nearby hospital to see a psychiatrist, and if you remember, Scientologists do not like psychiatry. So members of the Church of Scientology arrive at the hospital they brought her to, meet up with her, and she winds up checking herself out and leaving with them. She said she was going for religious care, and eventually this religious care with the church went south. And then rather than taking her to the closest hospital, they went much further to get to a hospital who had a Scientologist doctor on staff. When they got there, she was pronounced dead, and it had been found that she was starving, dehydrated, bruised, and bitten by cockroaches. And I'm not going to show the photos they took when they got her to the hospital, but suffice it to say that it's a far cry from the woman you see in these pictures. After this happened, the Church of Scientology was indicted on 2 felony charges, but those were eventually dropped. However, years later, Lisa McPherson's family filed a civil suit that they wound up settling out of court for undisclosed terms. And although the Lisa McPherson case was already very well known to a small group of anti-Scientologist activists, this was the first time it was ever getting this kind of mainstream exposure. Not only was it the top site on all of YTM&D, which at this time was approaching its peak of popularity, but mainstream websites were picking it up. So essentially, by issuing impotent legal threats to YTM&D, they wound up shining a light on one of their biggest scandals ever. And you know what? They never even followed up on those threats they made. Most of the sites they listed are still there to this very day. But the damage wasn't done yet for the Church of Scientology, because in 2008, 4chan picked up where YTM&D left off. And although 4chan raids up until this point took place almost entirely online, their activities were starting to bleed out into the real world more frequently. In particular, there was a several-month trolling campaign of white supremacist radio host Hal Turner that had culminated in an IRL raid. Granted, this particular raid wound up having something like 2 people show up, and it wasn't that big of a deal, but it started to get people to have a taste for it. And although things like the Hal Turner raids were mostly just for the sake of laughing at idiots, there were people in the community who saw the potential to affect real change in the world. And on January 15th, 2008, 4chan's biggest raid to date was born. I think it's time for B to do something big. People need to understand not to fuck with B and talk about nothing for 10 minutes and expect people to give their money to an organization that makes absolutely no fucking sense. I'm talking about hacking or taking down the official Scientology website. It's time to use our resources to do something we believe is right. It's time to do something big again, B. Talk amongst one another, find a better place to planet, and then carry out what can and must be done. It's time, B. And this poster follows up with a link to a Gawker article about a Tom Cruise indoctrination video that Scientology tried to have taken off the internet.
I think it's a privilege to call yourself a Scientologist. It's something that you have to earn.
In his mind, showing this would get more people behind his cause, but actually the response was a bit mixed. In fact, this very moment was one of the key origins of one of the biggest cultural divides on both 4chan and the internet at large. Older users who had typically been more into the idea of trolling for its own sake, mocking stupidity for laughs, and generally doing it for the lulz, were at odds with a wave of newer, cause-oriented 4chan users. People who thought that they could use 4chan's powers for good. A cultural divide that permeates the internet to this very day. But despite some internal conflicts, there were enough people on board to start getting the ball rolling. And the next day, a follow-up post was made. On 15/108, war was beginning. Scientology's site is already under heavy bombardment. It's loading quite slowly, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. The first assault in many to follow. We're winning a minor victory, but without the united support of the Chans, Scientology will brush off this attack.
Yay!
To nothing more than an entry in ED or Chan. Answer the call.
Well,
Join the Legion against Scientology.
and some
Help it its
pants.
demise. It is long
I actually
awaited
do
doom.
need some
For
pants.
decades, this tyranny has existed, corrupting the minds of the weak. Although hilarious, it's rather pathetic. We must destroy this evil and replace it with a greater one. Chanology. For when we are victorious, the Chans will stand united in a new chapter of anonymous existence and batshit insanity. We will have begun our world takeover.
I can't
If we can destroy
sleep.
Scientology, we can destroy whatever we like. The world will be but our plaything. Do the right thing, 4chan. Become not just a part of this war, become an epic part of it. The largest of the Chans, you hold the key of manpower, what the Legion is in desperate need of. Forward, Anonymous United. We, the Legion, are unstoppable. TLDR, we're taking down Scientology. Join up or GTFO. And then a video declaring war on Scientology was released.
Hello, leaders of Scientology. We are anonymous. Over the years, we have been watching you. Your campaigns of misinformation, your suppression of dissent, your litigious nature, all of these things have caught a right. With the leakage of your latest propaganda video into mainstream circulation, the extent of your malign influence over those who have come to trust you as leaders has been made clear to us. Anonymous has therefore decided that your organization should be destroyed.
Scientology websites were taken down with DDoS attacks, pizzas were sent to Scientology locations, endless black faxes were sent to drain their printer ink. 4chan users were actually doing a little bit of damage to Scientology. However, after the news picked up on the story, questions about legality started to be raised.
And that was when Mark Bunker, an anti-Scientology activist working for the Lisa McPherson Trust, who would eventually become known as Wise Beard Man, came into the picture. He released a video addressing 4chan users trying to help focus their efforts.
Hi, this is Mark Bunker from Xenu TV. I've been hearing from a lot of members of Anonymous and a lot of other people asking me, well, what do you think about Anonymous? First off, I think it's incredibly exciting to have an army of young, passionate people wanting to do something about Scientology's fraud and abuse. Really is exciting. However, I think you're making some major mistakes that are going to hurt in the long run. I looked at your site the other day and I saw that there were suggestions that people go to the orgs and put bleach in the gas tanks of cars parked outside the orgs, or cut the wires underneath the cars, or go inside the building and flush rubber gloves down the toilets to plug up the sewer systems. These are just wrong. They're morally and legally, and it's going to tar the entire group of you.
The Watcher. The Watcher. Oh, that food sucks major ass. Oh. The Watcher. The Watcher LT Lickman. Oh my god, I hate long intros like this.
Person.
Go ahead, bitch. I'm not fucking scared because you know my name.
Very well. We take it you still reside at 147 Boulevard Road.
What?
Wait, is that your actual address? Can you just fucking leave, you creep?
Ding dong. Be concerned about how they know your name. Now, remove the morals and limitations of one's hair. It is now time for you to see what I have become. It is now time for you to witness the rebirthing of the original architect of fear.
Okay, this will be our main place. Okay, we'll do half of our health because I actually want to grow this later. Because I don't want to live near an ocean.
What the fuck did you just say to me?
What the fuck was that?
I have no idea, but whoever it was just said my name.
Okay, that's pretty fucking creepy, bro.
Tell me something. What do you fear the most, Mr.
Okay, how the fuck do you know who I am?
What the fuck is happening right now?
I have no fucking clue. Tell me how you know my name.
If someone knew everything there was to know about you, everything you had done, would you really be concerned about how they know your name?
Tell me who the fuck you are.
Now tell us, what do you fear the most?
What the fuck?
Tell me who the fuck you are.
So cool.
I see it clearly now. You, James, fear lack of control. Stop it. It must absolutely terrify you when the safety blanket of privacy is viciously torn from you.
No, it fucking don't.
Oh my god, yeah, we made that.
I'm not afraid of some fucking idiot on a video game. Keep trying to fuck with me. Go on.
Just fuck off, whoever you are. You're not fucking scaring anyone.
See, you fucking idiot.
Exactly what he said.
And you, tell me, what do you fear?
Not little fucking nerds who talk shit over the internet.
Just fuck off, you loser.
Oh, I need more. Oh no, I have enough wood.
Walker, is it? Would you prefer that we visit your home and talk shit in person?
Go ahead, bitch. I'm not fucking scared because you know my name.
Very well. We take it you still reside at 147 Boulevard Road.
What? Wait. Is that your intro address?
What? Let me take it, guys.
Can you just fucking leave, you creep?
I need that bit blocked right now.
Wait, don't shut the fucking door! Do it!
Let's go, little shit.
Sitting here on a fucking game. Not fucking into it.
Where are you? You little bitch. Fucking fight me. Fight me! Water can protect me, but not forever.
Just leave him alone! Leave him alone! Join a fucking game!
But am I? You see,
What the fuck is wrong with you?
nightmare in reality is our specialty.
Who the fuck are you? Just tell me!
James, you do not know us, but well, we most certainly know you. You see, everything you have said, everything you have done, Fletcher,
Another break.
and touching. So let me ask you this, James. If someone had been watching you, if someone knew everything you had done, just how safe would you feel in their presence?
What the
Do you
fuck?
feel your actions from the past shape what you say?
Shut the fuck up!
Here, we're gonna go on the move again.
You're gonna be arrested for my fucking harassment! You understand me?
Applaud you for trying so hard to hide within the safety you so inwardly perceive you have. Do you
Just
really
fuck
think
off!
pathetic threats will deter us, James?
It's not a threat! I'll fucking go in right now!
Everything you've done, James.
So? I don't care!
Everything.
If you don't tell me who the fuck you are, I'm gonna call the cops! This is your last fucking chance!
You want to know who we are?
Yes!
Very well. We are the moths drawn to the burning flame of vile indiscretions, acts of violence, to wrongful suffering.
I
To
have...
those who do wrong, we are contracted mercenaries. Mercenaries not of justice, not of light or of aid. We are mercenaries but of darkness, pain, and suffering. We are the evil that comes for the evil. We are not here for reconciliation. We are not here for justice. We are your consequence.
Yeah? Well, you're about to get reported to the fucking police.
Please, do go ahead and call the authorities.
Don't you worry.
Beg for your justice to be served. The very justice you starved others.
What?
Please, go ahead. But before you do, let me ask you this. Does one night of intimidation outweigh a lifetime of hate crimes, Mr.
What? I had no fucking idea what you're going on about.
Then you simply have nothing to worry about.
For fuck's sake! Just tell me how the fuck you know who I am!
Are your watchers?
Who the... Why do you keep saying fucking we?
I say we.
Just tell me who the fuck this is!
I'm only one of the many watching.
Who?
You'll see soon enough, James.
No, I won't!
Quickly, guys, sorry to pause the video. We are sponsored by Raid Legends. Just imagine this Super Series video just cut in the middle. We are sponsored by League of Legends. This is a mobile RPG game where you can level up and make many players.
That depends, James. Is your safety the laughing matter? Well, Welcome all watchers. Tonight, we have a new contract for you. So, let us begin your briefing, shall we? Your target's name is James, born on the 4th of January, 1993. But last known whereabouts were at the... Use any and all information at your disposal to find, track, and monitor the target. You are to observe his actions for the next 3 weeks. During these 3 weeks, you are to judge your target. If at any point they violate any previous indiscretions that place their name on our list, your chains will be removed, and you will have full authority to release absolute chaos. If you make another mistake, James McGowan, may the Lord have mercy on you, because those who are coming for you now most certainly will not.
Who posted this? Who posted this? Tell me, who the fuck posted this?
Contractor did. You see,
What
there
the
are men
fuck?
like me, James, watching. As contractors do so. Now, check your front door. There's a letter waiting for you.
Who the fuck posted all that about me?
You are no longer in control here, James.
Who's your fucking contractor?
It will no longer be respected within.
Come on!
Now,
Just fucking tell
check
me!
your front door.
Please! Just fucking...
The antioxidant goodness in every bottle of Palm Wonderful makes it a potent weapon against free radicals. Your antioxidant superpower committed to protecting you from unforeseen foes. And Palm is super wonderfully delicious. Palm Wonderful, the antioxidant superpower.
Fucking tell me!
We will no longer ask politely.
Oh, for fuck's sake, fine! How is this legal?
You like your arrogance? The laws too have vanished. We operate in darkness, and the authorities cannot stop what they cannot see.
Fuck? Who the fuck are you?
Our names are irrelevant. Our purpose is to make those who cause suffering to suffer their consequences.
You...
Now we all know why you're on our list.
I...
Don't be
No!
James.
No, I don't get why I'm on it. I seriously don't.
Don't make this harder than it needs to be, Mr. You know exactly why you were contracted to us.
Oh my god, no, I don't!
Well, let's jog your memory then, shall we? Remember her, James? Because she simply cannot forget you. Do you remember what you did to her, James? What did you do, James?
I hit her.
You did what?
I fucking hit her, okay?
No, James. You
James!
did not just hit her. You beat her. You beat her senseless. Which is why did you do this, James? An act of such violence and aggression surely must be driven by such a strongly justified reason, correct? Was she attacking someone?
No!
Was she threatening your life, maybe?
No! No, she wasn't.
What was she doing to cause you to act in such a way?
Because she said...
Because she was of a different nationality than you. That's why you mercilessly beat this innocent woman. Because she is black. That's why you did it. Didn't you, James?
I didn't mean to.
Didn't you, James?
Yes, alright! Yes! I did it because you're a fucking black! You fucking hurt me now!
It's time to play a simple game, James. We're going to ask you questions, and you're going to answer them for us.
What?
I do not recall stuttering, James. Now, say the first word you associate with the following questions. James, what do you see from?
What the fuck? Our eyes?
And what is the name of just one of those eyes?
It's just...
James, what is the opposite of white?
Black.
What is the 16th letter of the alphabet?
Why are you asking me these questions?
Do you really wish to question our methods, James?
P. The answer's P.
You should be very familiar with this emotion. What is the opposite of love?
Hate.
Finish the sentence. Where does Santa live? In the north.
In the North Pole. Seriously, what the
Questions
fuck?
are finished now, James. Do you value your job and recepting threats?
What the fuck?
Do you require your job to live comfortably?
Why the fuck are you asking me that?
It would be a real shame if your boss, Ian, was to be aware of
Oi!
racist ideas, wouldn't it?
What the fuck do you want from me? I'm doing everything you want.
Yes, James.
What the fuck?
You're correct. Take the Peter quiz. Speaking of that, how about we listen back to your answers, shall we?
What?
Answer 1. I. Answer 2. Black. Answer 3. P. Answer 4. Hate. Answer 5. Cool.
So if I take your fucking quiz, why are you laughing?
How about we rearrange some of those answers? Then maybe you will understand.
What? I hate black people. What the fuck?
Maybe we can't call your boss and make him aware of your ideas.
You can't do that!
You can.
I didn't say that! Please! Don't do this to me!
Oh, how truly pathetic. You dare beg the justice you so arrogantly denied others.
Please!
We are numb, James. We feel nothing.
Fuck!
Desperate cries for mercy are falling upon deaf ears.
Fuck!
Redemption. And redemption alone.
I said I was sorry!
Who is that?
You will be, James. Ring, ring.
Don't do this! Please! That's my fucking job!
How does it feel to be helpless to your own destruction?
Please!
Hey, you've reached Ian. Please leave your name and
Don't
number
fucking
and
do
I'll
it.
get back to you.
I hate black fuck! Fuck! What the fuck? Would you do that? You
Some
fucking
people are
cunt!
happy to racially discriminate in private and destroy the lives of others because of their skin tone. But when your actions are put into the limelight,
Poggy.
you beg for justice and mercy.
Oh no.
How unlucky you are to
Spider.
have two faces.
Please!
Both of them are truly ugly.
Just delete the fucking message!
How long do you think it will be until Ian checks his messages,
Please!
James? How much longer do you think you have left, Mr.
Just delete it!
You want the message to disappear, James. You want all of your indiscretions to vanish. You want it all to go away.
Delete it!
Well, good things come to those who play.
What now?
Solve our riddle, and the message will disappear.
For fuck's sake, fine! What's the fucking riddle?
What is a 7-letter word containing thousands of letters?
That makes no fucking sense. It can't be a 7-letter word.
Smart boy, James. I'm sure you will
It
think of
doesn't
something.
make any
Would you
fucking
like
sense.
one to hurry?
Fuck! Okay. Okay, it's a 7-letter word that contains thousands of letters. Fucking 7-letter word with thousands of letters.
Tuck,
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up, I'm thinking.
your time is running out.
7-letter word. Thousands of letters are in. It's a 7.
Here's a hint, Mr. Crow. You've got mail.
It's mailbox. Or mailbox. It's fucking mailbox. Now delete that fucking message. You're gonna delete that fucking message, you piece of shit.
The answer to the riddle is not the mailbox.
What?
The answer to the riddle is in the mailbox.
Are you fucking kidding me? Hey! There's nothing in the mailbox! What the fuck is the answer? I solved the stupid fucking riddle!
Never an answer, James.
What? I did everything you wanted!
What, James? You really expected us to play by the rules?
That's my fucking job!
You missed the problem.
What?
Did you play by the rules when you attacked Elise? No, we didn't think so.
What the fuck do you want from me?
Oh, James.
What? What the fuck do you want?
Well, it would seem he has indeed heard the message.
Fucking kidding.
He does not seem pleased, James.
Do you know what? Fuck this! I'm calling my fucking boss! It's some bullshit! You're not gonna fuck with me anymore! You fucking asshole!
Please, go ahead, James.
James, look. The voice note wasn't from me. I'm not a racist, okay? The voice message you got saying I hate black people. What? Well, I heard your voice. Are you fucking kidding me? What the fuck? Would you do that? Fuck!
Oh, calm down, James.
Fuck you!
You really think that was our grand reveal? Our big plan? To what? Simply sabotage your ego? For how wrong you are, James.
I'm gonna fuck!
You are correct. We never left that message. We only wanted you to believe we had. And in turn, you would solely focus on destroying me.
So I'm fucking racist! Get the fuck over it! I'm not sorry for attacking Elise! And I'm not sorry for hating fucking black people! So you wanna fuck with me? I'll do more than fucking punch Elise! And that'll be your fucking fault! I'm done with this shit!
James, the voicemail was just the illusion. A distraction, if you will.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Was our big reveal. While you were worried about your boss, seeing you, your information was leaked into the deepest, darkest crevices of cyberspace. Once you had
You can't!
your address was tracked, packaged, and given as a gift to all your watchers within your suburbs.
That's against the fucking law! You can't fucking do that!
James,
I don't care! No! Shut the fuck up! Fuck this! I'm calling the police!
you think you can disobey the law and expect those who come after you to give you that courtesy?
I don't care!
Operating in the same darkness you surround yourself in, James. So let us ask you this. Are you feeling brave, James?
What the fuck is wrong with you? You can't just go out here and trust this!
You dared threaten Elise again. So, James, we will ask you once more. Are you feeling brave on this night?
Shut the fuck up! Just fuck off!
Very well. It's time to face your consequences, James.
What?
Vaca, tu me dá.
Oh, how quickly you lose your confidence in the face of real confrontation.
Fuck, it's not my house.
Come on, James. Come outside.
Just tell them to go.
Prove to yourself that we are not real. Prove to yourself that everything will be okay.
Just tell them to go.
Look at their faces, James.
Please.
They're in black masks, James. Do you know why?
No. No, I don't.
They are wearing black masks to represent Elise.
I'm
So how does it
sorry.
feel to be in the minority now, James? How does it feel to be the one having their safety threatened? If you ever even think about going near Elise again,
I won't.
we will be waiting, wishing you would be foolish enough. And if you do,
I
we
won't.
can assure you, those black faces will be the last thing you will ever see.
I won't, I promise. I promise.
It would be best if you heed these warnings, James, because no one notices if someone disappears, if they're already hiding in the darkness.
I won't.
We know you won't. Oh, and James, we have one last question for you.
Okay.
Considering you are a racist, does that mean you are afraid of the dark?
What?
You mad, bro? I said, tell me what you mad for. You mad, bro? Yo, I said, tell me what you mad for. You mad, bro? I've been waiting for
My motto is slow and steady wins the race because I want to collect a
You're
ton
not
of
even
resources.
playing the game. So shut up.
Have you ever wanted to sound like Lieutenant Lick Me for a day? Well, now you can. Welcome to LT Sounds. I am the justice you try to run from. I am the architect of fear.
Just something I could throw away.
You truthfully thought your blatant duplication of our content and our style would go unnoticed? You, Jordan, have shamelessly stolen our content without any second thought of the repercussions that would follow. You see,
Iron.
we could look past your lack of creativity and your terrible execution. But what we could not look past, Jordan, was the fact you have falsely labeled yourself a hero. And in the wake of your despicable actions, well, tell me this, Jordan. Do heroes trade their morals for money? Do heroes release naked images of their targets? Do heroes show complete disregard for the safety of others? Let's just say it would be a real shame if someone happened to manipulate your little forms with a fake submission that would give them the ability to come face to face with you. Wouldn't it, Jordan? And lastly, tell me, Jordan, do heroes bleed?
Oh God, shut up, ad. We need to make sure that we put some lights in here so that they can't spawn anymore. Okay, this will be our... Oh! Let's go, baby! Weak! Ooh. Some pretty good stuff in here. Ooh, that's pretty good. Knockback, that's good. Projectile protection. I'm definitely not using alert, obviously, but.
What are you talking about? Who is this? Who's Lisa? No, I don't. What the fuck? How do you know where I live? Who the fuck is this? Okay. Just what do you want?
Are you going to admit what you did?
But I didn't do anything.
Yes, you fucking did!
I swear I didn't. I don't even know Elisa. Who said I hit Elisa?
Stop lying! I knew exactly what the fuck you done, you piece of shit!
But I didn't do anything wrong.
Shut the fuck up! You're going to follow everything I say, or your information is getting posted online.
But I
Do
didn't.
you fucking understand me?
Okay, alright.
Now, you fucking piece of shit! You're going to film yourself, so get your phone.
Okay.
I don't need sticks. I already
Okay.
told you.
I've got it here.
Press record and repeat everything I tell you to say.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Tyler Ashwin.
Hello, my name is Tyler Ashwin.
I am a disgusting scumbag.
I am a disgusting scumbag.
And I deserve to rot in hell for what I've done.
But I didn't do
Say
anything.
it.
And I deserve to rot in hell for what I've done.
My mother is an ugly slut.
What?
Do you let your fucking translate, motherfucker?
The fuck? My mother is an ugly slut.
And she should have swallowed me.
And she should have swallowed
I
me.
have a tiny dick, and I should kill myself for being such a piece of shit.
What the fuck?
Say it!
And I have a tiny dick. And I should kill myself for being such a piece of shit.
Kids, now, do you have any family members home?
No,
I bet you do, you fucking liar.
I don't.
Call them into your room and tell them you've got a tiny dick.
No,
What the fuck did you just say?
I don't want to do this. Please. I didn't do anything.
Oh, really? Well, guess what? Your address just got posted online, motherfucker.
But I didn't do anything.
Oh, shut the fuck up. You think a piece of shit like you deserves any mercy? Your address is public information now, so send the video you just recorded, as well as maybe $100 through PayPal, or your address stays up forever. How's justice taste, bitch?
I didn't even do anything. Where's your proof?
Go have a fucking cry. I'm justice. I know exactly who the fuck you are, and you deserve no mercy for what you did. Now send the fucking video and send me the $100 or your address stays up. Did you fucking hear me? I think pieces of shit like you commit suicide for the shit I've done to them. So trust me, if you don't send me the money, I will call the police, and I'll tell them you raped Lisa, and I will give them your fucking address. So send the fucking
Fine,
money.
I'll send the money, okay? I sent it, okay? Just please check your email.
That's a good little girl.
Take it down, okay?
You didn't transfer anything.
Yes, I did. I just sent it.
What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this?
Oh, how very amateur of you indeed.
What?
Your hair was a look forbidding. And for a mere $100, What a cheap bargain your honor is, Mr.
Okay, who the fuck is this?
Well, your sources would have you believe my name is Tyler Ashwin.
What?
But could it be that your sources were manipulated?
Just tell me who the fuck this is! Tell me!
Could it be that you have just dived headfirst into a situation while being blinded by your own ego?
Fuck you! You tell me who the fuck this is right now, or I will seriously leave your fucking address!
Jordan, you seem to be a man of many words. You claim to be a menacing tsunami of justice. But you were a mere ripple in the wake of the waves we have created.
Who the
You
fuck?
claim to be the vicious tornado of righteousness tearing through the liars and the cheaters. But you are simply the irrelevant dust that settles behind the path we have already paved.
Who is this?
You are the mirror hosting our empty reflection. You are the insidious to our ingenious. You are the bootleg copy of our masterpiece. You are the discounted, ineffective, photocopied version of us and nothing more. And even still, you so arrogantly claim to hold the title of hero, but you lack the morals, the conviction, and the righteousness to be able to separate yourself from the scum. You so hypocritically pretend to
Imagine being the victim to one of these, like, seriously, if this isn't, like, actors or anything. Just to fucking imagine being at that point, like, oh, fuck, I just fucked up big.
Now let me take you back to your question. Who are we? You tell me.
This is fucking Lieutenant Lickby, isn't it?
Well done, Jordan.
Seriously? You fucking...
Not be surprised. We know just how familiar you are with our work.
Fuck you!
After all, we're the ones you have built your little system around.
Fuck you! I'm not copying you! I'm doing what you don't do! You're a fucking fake! You're a fucking YouTube view whore!
Oh, now, Jordan. You see, we could look past your absence of creativity, your non-existent vision, and even your pathetic attempts at our work.
Fuck you, asshole!
What we cannot and will not allow is for you to abuse your newly claimed power. You have intimidated and abused others without limitation.
No, I
You have
fucking haven't!
compromised their safety. You have become the very thing you claim to defend others from. So tonight, we will not only educate you on just what is wrong and what is right, but we will also show you just what is real and what is fake, what is reality and what is nightmare. And Jordan, we can assure you, the fear you're going to experience will feel very real.
I don't want my house to be anything squaginous or whatever the hell it's said.
Destroy your privacy in a matter of seconds, motherfucker! What I do is real when you're just a fucking little YouTuber who pretends to threaten people. So before you say anything else, are you sure you want to do that?
We are very aware of just who you are, Jordan.
You don't know who the fuck I am!
You don't yet know who we are.
Exactly who the fuck you are!
Ring, ring.
What?
You must answer that, Mr.
Fuck off! This is not you!
No matter how hard you tried to seek refuge within your own ignorance,
This isn't you!
the dividing line between reality and nightmare is beginning to wither away. Once it has, you will then know and remember exactly who we are.
Oh no, I need a stack of wood.
Oh, Jordan, this is your nightmare speaking. I'd like to make a booking with your reality today. How does now aren't making you feel real emotions, are they?
How did you get my fucking number?
It would almost seem as if all of this was real.
You made me a fucking liar, or I will torch you. I'll put every fucking thing about you. Do you understand me?
Mister, come now. We both know your threats, like your head, are empty.
Fuck you! I will do it right now. I know a lot of people that would want your fucking address, you piece of shit.
Please go ahead, Jordan. Let us feel the rain of chaos you can conjure up. Show us the true power you hold. Make us bow to your superior authority.
You think you're fucking funny? Who's that saying, you motherfucker? Your full name is... Your address is... So go ahead, keep acting like a fucking smart ass. If you actually think that's fucking funny, here your address is going online right now.
Jordan, if you're going to attempt to make a threat toward us, you best hope to God that you follow through. Because if you do not, if you fall short just by an inch, if you fail to inspire any kind of fear within us, well, you will have just opened the floodgates in which the rain of absolute chaos will shower upon you, and you will achieve absolutely nothing.
Fuck you! Fuck you! I know that's your address. I'm going to fucking post it.
If your goal is to drive fear deep within the very being of your target, you best make sure your information is correct.
Fuck you! You won't be laughing when I send your information out, motherfucker!
Nothing.
Please, no! Sorry, I didn't...
Here's another tip. If you're going to start a war, you best make sure your first strike lands.
Fucking sorry, I didn't mean to...
That, amongst many other things, that was your first real mistake.
Please, I said I'm
Your
sorry.
second was thinking you could ever play the judge and crucify people based on no factual
I
information.
know, I'm fucking
And your
sorry,
third
okay?
and final mistake
Please.
was ever thinking you could outplay the one who invented the game.
Please, I'll walk through it again, okay? I'm so sorry. Please, I'm begging you.
Sweet joy. You truthfully thought your little sorries will stop us?
Please.
Remember, you're the big bad online bounty hunter that stands behind no morals or limitations.
No, please, I'm
You're
not.
simply playing the game you set the moral rules for.
Please, I swear to God, I will never do it again, okay?
You see, you allowed your submitters on your little forums to use you to inflict pain on others. People who had done nothing wrong.
I know, I'm
Blindly
stupid.
followed your heroic role,
I'm sorry.
believing you were dealing true justice without a shred of evidence.
I
But
know.
even if you had the right person, someone who deserved to be targeted, you tried not only to terrify these people, but to steal from them. You not only stole from them, you released their private information, you abused them, and you abused your power. You took advantage of your hero status to the full extent.
I'm
So
sorry.
in return for such blatant disregard for their safety and well-being, we now welcome you to ponder the thought that these previous targets of yours were to be made aware of just who you are, what you do, and where you live.
No, please don't do this.
How would you feel knowing that every single person you have ever labeled as evil,
No.
without any evidence, without any facts, without any second guesses, how would you feel knowing these very people are coming for you as we
I
speak?
said I'm sorry.
You are nothing but a thief hiding behind the mask of justice. And you will be taught the meaning of justice. You will endure the pain they have endured.
No!
You'll experience
Come
the
on!
fear they
Please, I don't want to.
Tonight, you're going to be their victim.
I just wanted to do what you do. I fucking look up to you. I'm fucking
You
sorry.
traded your valor for financial gain, and for that, there is no excuse.
No, please!
Following names of those you have wronged, those you have abused, or indiscretions you were falsely fed by your submitters.
I didn't know.
Suspected racist behavior. Proof? Absolutely nothing. You threatened to release his private information. You forced him to record himself pretending he was coming out as a homosexual online. Tell me, Jordan, does this ring any bells?
You gave him my fucking number! Please, you will fucking kill me!
Online verbal assault. Proof?
Please, don't
You
do this!
released naked images of her and extorted $100 from her.
I didn't need to do it! Please, I will give them the money back! I'm fucking begging you! Please, I'll give it all back, I swear to God!
And last but not least, Simon. Suspected sexual assault. Proof? An altered Facebook image sent from one of Simon's bullies. But of course you wouldn't know that, would you? You just went ahead and leaked his address. You had people calling the police to his home relentlessly.
Sorry, I didn't know!
You extorted him of over $250 just so his torture would stop. But you know what's worst of all? Simon also happened to be a member of the LT Army. And trust us when we say this. We do not take kindly to those who attempt to bring harm on our own.
Please, I didn't know he was a part of the Lieutenant Army! I swear I didn't! I didn't know! What the fuck? He's here! Please just don't want to tell the cops! Please just tell him to go! I will never do this ever
Your
again!
chance of mercy, along with your honor, died a long time ago, Mr.
Please! I swear on my life I will never do it again! I am so sorry! I am so sorry!
Ring, ring.
Please!
Ring, ring.
Please! Please, I don't want to do this! I'm sorry!
I wouldn't let it go to voicemail if I were you.
Who is this? Please! I don't...
Do you want to hear a joke?
Please! Stop this! No! Please! I'm begging you!
Knock, knock.
Fuck! Who's there? Who's there? Who's there?
Justice.
You mad, bro? I said, tell me what you mad for. You mad, bro?
To those of you who have wished to join our chaotic horde, and those of you who share our limitless lust for absolute anarchy, it is finally time for you to represent the lawless mercenaries known as the Watchers. Please, allow me to introduce you to
I don't know what I want for this series. I'm not sure if I want it to be so crazy like the last series. Oh, so the last series is completely planned. I know I probably shouldn't have said that, just people were actually immersed. Well, I'm so sorry, but it was all staged. I went into creative, set up all that stuff. I really did want to do the 3 count limit, but then everything got crazy, and now I don't like that world. So if anyone's wondering why I don't want to go back on that server for at least at the most a year. Just because it got boring quick for the after creative mode. I could, why farm when I could just grab it out of creative and like stop spending an hour. But I actually want to beat the Ender Dragon on this world. I actually want to do stuff on this world.
On just what has happened already, shall we?
We'll just use these points.
Late tonight, okay? But I know you're a big girl, and you can look after yourself, can't you? I mean, you're 7 3/4 already.
Hello? Is anybody there?
Hello.
What's your name?
My name's Matthew. What's your name?
My name's Siwa.
Siwa, do you want to join my game? I can invite you, and me and you can play together on our own.
Okay.
Hello, Siwa.
Hello.
Do you have a boyfriend?
No, I'm only 7.
Siwa, do you want to know my secret?
Okay.
I'm naked.
What?
I'm naked. Do you want to see?
No.
I just sent you a photo of me, Siwa. Do you like it? Come on, you send me one now.
I don't want to.
You know that I know your dad, and I will tell him you're being bad and you'll get in trouble. You want me to call him right now, Siwa?
No, please.
Well, send me a photo of you, and I won't tell him. Okay?
Okay.
You probably brushed
I
my
sent
teeth.
you the photo.
That was quick. Siwa, how did you get this photo? Tell me how the fuck you got that photo!
Keith, do you know what happens to adults when they try to get naked pictures of me?
Look, I was just joking around with you, okay? I didn't mean send me an actual photo of you naked.
They go to jail.
I was just messing around with you. Come on, Siwa, don't call the police. Remember, we're friends.
If we're friends, tell me my full name.
Well, it's Siwa, but you didn't tell me your last name yet, so I don't know it.
My first name is Siwa.
Yes?
And my last name is Chur.
Okay, well, nice to meet you, Siwa, Chur. What's so funny?
Let me just put this in front of my camera while I brush my teeth. Sorry guys, but still, I want to keep my life a little bit more private. What the hell? Got 2 minutes.
We're not so different. You like to manipulate and instill fear within your targets. And we love to manipulate and instill fear within ours. You like to hide in the shadows. And we were born in them. You run from the law. And we effortlessly dance through its loopholes. But there is but one teeny tiny difference between us, Keith. Do you know what that is? You like to play with people's children. Whereas well, we like to play with people's sanity. So, you really thought your game
Just throw away this trash, guys. Yeah, I'll be right back.
Now, although you may have ran from us when we first made contact, you can no longer hide.
Be back
There is a darkness coming for you that will engulf any and every shadow in which you once tried to hide. But don't be scared, Keith. For this darkness, these big bad wolves that are coming for the little piggy, they are not coming to blow your house down. Oh no. These wolves are going to huff, and these wolves are going to puff until they blow your sanity away.
Okay, everybody. I'm back. I'll probably have to go and take the trash out later. But not gonna do that for a while. Boost cam back on. Uh-oh. Darkness is coming.
He terrified me. I could not talk. My words were scrambled. He told me no one could hear my screams. The monster under my bed chose me. My ears welcomed his whispers of darkness. My heart bleed dread, and in time, it does not heal. Oh, surely you didn't forget about little old me already, did you, Keith? Way to make a girl feel special. What is it?
What?
Am I not pretty enough for you, Keith?
What? Who is this? Who is
Not
this?
young enough?
Who is this? Fuck! I'm sorry about that.
A primary school teacher to be using such foul language.
The fuck?
Terrible example you are setting for your students.
How do you know? How do you know who I am?
It's our job to know who you are.
What?
We are your watchers.
What? What the hell is that supposed to mean? You've been watching me?
That is correct, Keith.
What the
You
fuck?
don't mind if we call you Keith? After all, we are quite acquainted with each other now, aren't we?
Who do you think you are? Who is this?
Don't take that as a yes.
No, it is not a yes.
Tell me, how would you feel knowing that someone knew everything there was to know about you?
Excuse me?
Your secrets, your lies, and even
Who is this?
twisted fetishes.
What?
You see, not only did we get you requesting explicit images of just one innocent child. Oh no.
I didn't fucking do anything.
Caught you time and time again without you even realizing it.
That's bullshit.
Tell me, Keith, do these account names ring any bells?
No, they fucking don't.
Or how about
No. No, they aren't my accounts.
did you ever start to think that maybe, just maybe, there was a spider that was lurking on that dark
I didn't do anything.
where you ignorantly indulged in such vile
I didn't do anything.
just waiting for a vile little insect like you to be caught in their web?
I didn't do anything, and you can't fucking prove I did anything. I'm fucking leaving.
Let me stop you right there, Keith.
No, I'm fucking leaving.
expected a conniving little insect like yourself to scurry away when light was shed on your actions.
I didn't do anything!
There's something that we should tell you just before you run away.
I'm not running away! I didn't do anything wrong!
So, you want to leave? Well, we of course cannot physically stop you. But you may want to check your phone just before you make any rash decisions.
Why? Why? Who the fuck are you? You leave her out of this! You leave her out of this!
These words to haunt you for the remainder of our encounter.
Leave her out of this!
Please, welcome them politely as they slither within your ears.
Who the fuck are you?
Tell me, what happens when your lovely little girlfriend, Amanda, finds out?
Leave her out of this! You leave her the fuck alone!
She's not around.
Dude, involve her, you sick!
Beautiful little family is torn apart by the ugly truth.
Just wait! I can... Just wait!
You're in quite the predicament.
I can fucking pay you! I can pay you!
Weigh your options for you.
Please!
Option number one.
Please!
Surely they couldn't really find me. They're just online, right? I could just tell Amanda they're lying.
Please! Who the fuck are you?
Found you.
Who the fuck are you?
Of course you could tell your
Please!
Amanda that we're lying. After all, these things happen all the time. Just another bunch of cyberpunks messing with you for no reason. Right? Wrong.
Please, I don't want any trouble.
Here's the kicker. We have a lovely little screenshot which we think your girlfriend would just love to see. Wouldn't you agree?
What? How the fuck did you get that? Who is this?
You and I both know out of everyone,
Who is this?
your girlfriend would be the one most likely to be able to identify you, wouldn't she, Keith?
How the fuck did you get
There
it?
are a lot more.
Please, I can pay. I can pay. Just please.
Option number two. You call the police. They're breaking the law, aren't they?
You are. You are breaking the law.
You thought
Just stop this and...
one who hides in the shadows from the law.
What?
Yes, Keith. We are trained acrobats. Acrobats who specialize in their ability to jump through the loops of this broken legal system.
Who are you?
And even if you did somehow
Who
find
are
a
you?
reason to run to the authorities for help, tell me, do you really think one night of intimidation outweighs a long list of sex offenses towards children? You've heard they are heavy charges, Keith. So please, go ahead. Run to the authorities. It'll make this all much easier for us.
Please, I don't want to do that, okay?
Child's play.
Who are you? You can't just do this to people.
We have option number three. You stay. I will just stay and do what they want and not risk my well-being to satisfy my own ignorance. Well, we cannot argue with common sense now, can we?
You're fucking sick.
So, what's it going to be, Keith?
Well, the fucking choice do I? Just tell me who the fuck you are. That's all I want to know.
Oh, it is not a question of who, Keith. Oh no. But what?
The
You see, we are your conscience.
fuck are you
We are
talking?
the swarm of flies drawn to the decaying carcass of your innocence.
What?
We are the echoes of the screams you have tried so desperately to silence. And tonight, we will
meant to hurt anyone, okay? If I did something to someone you know, I'm really, really sorry. I'll make it right.
Do you know what makes people like us absolutely terrifying to people like you?
You don't need to do this! I'm apologizing, okay?
Siki, what makes us terrifying is that we cannot be bought. We cannot be silenced. We cannot be bullied into what you want.
Just please let me go!
Because you are no longer in control. It absolutely terrifies you.
Please, just let me go, okay? I have a daughter! Do you know what this will do to her?
We have not and will not ever threaten your daughter.
Yeah, but you...
Try to present her potential heartache as some kind of shield to deflect your own impending torture.
I didn't!
Because that shows just how much of a coward you really are, Mr.
I'm not a fucking coward! Don't you dare call me a fucking...
Silence your tongue.
Well, I'm not a fucking...
Tonight, the monster that hides under children's beds. The monster that bumps in the night. Will bump for the very last time.
What? I'm not a fucking monster! I said I'm sorry! What the fuck do you want from me?
You're going to complete a series of puzzles.
Are you...
Children's puzzles.
Are you fucking kidding me?
And your first puzzle has been sent to you. It is a find a word. You have 45 seconds to complete it.
You messaged me a fucking find a word?
Buys you 2 seconds.
No!
Do you understand?
No! No, I don't fucking understand!
Time begins now.
No! I'm not doing a fucking find a word!
Your opinion is irrelevant.
I'm not doing it!
Well, we beg to differ.
What the fuck?
So, you still don't want to complete my find a word?
Fine! I'll do it! I'll do it!
You will yell out your answers, and you will begin now.
Okay! Welcome.
Correct.
Nightmare?
My words were scrambled.
What?
Correct.
Make?
Correct.
Two?
Correct.
Keith? What? Why the fuck is my name on this?
Time is almost up.
But why the fuck is my name on this?
Hurry, Mr.
Fuck! Soon?
Correct.
Since? Worst? It?
10
Fuck!
remaining.
Fuck! You're... all?
Correct.
Will? Will!
Correct.
Is that all of them? Is that all of them? That's all of them! That's all of them!
You have passed with flying colors and accumulated 24 seconds. Well done.
Can I fucking leave now?
You must feel very proud of yourself. You solved a children's puzzle.
I don't care, just let me fucking go! I did what you wanted! I did what you wanted! Let me go!
Oh, we're only just getting started.
But just let me fucking go!
We promise you this, kid.
Just let me fucking go!
We're going to break you.
Please!
And we will make sure that no one will ever be able to put the pieces of you back together again.
What? Just let me go!
Mister,
I want to go!
the difference between you and us is that you play with people's children. Where we
But I can't!
We play with people's sanity.
Let me fucking go! Let me fucking go!
Now calm down, Keith. You may leave whenever you wish, but
No, I can't!
to leave, you must be prepared to endure the consequences that follow.
But I didn't fucking hurt anyone! All I wanted was those pictures, and that was it. I'm not fucking hurting anyone, so just let me go. I said I was sorry.
You're going to wish such ignorance had never escaped your lips, Mr.
What?
So, you think there is no damage left in the wake of your sickening lust-filled torture?
Yes! Yes! I'm not hurting anyone!
If this is true, it should be easy to be able to identify just which one of these voices is the one suffering from the loss of her mother.
What?
And which one is scrambling for her innocence to be returned after someone just like you had stolen it from her. This should be simple for you, shouldn't it, Keith?
What the fuck are you talking about?
You told us that your actions have no painful repercussions upon its victims. So
I didn't mean
your
that.
assumptions. One of these voices should not be displaying any kind of sadness. Well, let us put your theory to the test.
You can't compare that! You can't fucking compare that!
Oh, really? Well, I think we're about to.
But that's not fair!
You expected us to play fair?
Please! You can't tell the difference!
Which one is she, Keith?
This isn't fucking fair!
Tell me where you draw the line, Keith.
Please, I don't know! I don't want to hear this!
Tell me where your sick, twisted mind separates pain
Please!
from pleasure.
I don't know!
Tell me how you distinguish the difference, Mr.
Just turn it off! Turn it off! I don't know! Please, I don't!
Tell me.
I don't know! Turn it off!
Tell me.
I don't know! I don't fucking know, okay?
Then don't dare tell me you have not hurt anyone. Just because you choose to ignore the pain you inflict does not mean it is not there. Just because you choose not to look in the mirror does not mean that there won't be a monster looking back at you. Your sickening burning desires have left only the ashes of their innocence. You have exposed their very being to the hell of reliving every moment of their torture, day in and day out. Tell me, Keith, have you ever experienced pain so severe that it inhibits each and every part of your very being, breaking you down until you are no longer who you once were? Have your words ever been strangled by fear as you sit there silently, unable to scream out for help, forced to simply endure till it's all over?
Okay! I didn't know! Please! If I could take it all back, I would. I promise you I would! I'll be sorry for the rest of my life.
We don't want your sorries, Keith.
But I just want this to stop!
We want to hear your cries for mercy. We want your desperate pleas for help to be heard by all, but helped by none.
Please.
You see, we crave your destruction, and nothing less.
I said I was sorry! If you're not going to accept it, then I'll fucking leave!
Please, do go ahead, Keith.
Fuck you!
Now that you've finished with your little attempt at independence,
Fuck you!
for your next puzzle, you have been sent a bedtime story, but a select
What?
few words have had their letters jumbled. You must unjumble these words and repeat the bedtime story to earn your seconds. Do you understand?
You're fucking sick!
Yes. Yes, we are, Keith. And guess what? There's no medication that can cure us.
Who are you? Who the fuck are you?
Now, Keith, if you can complete this story, and if I like it, you'll gain 26 seconds toward your final score. Are you ready to read me my bedtime story?
No! Why do you make me play these fucking games?
You will see.
Just tell me what the fuck is going on!
You do not need to know why. You only need to know that your story begins now.
Just tell me why I need more time! Tell me!
Read it, read it, read it, read it, read it!
Okay! For fuck's sake!
Read my bedtime story, Keith.
There once lived a little princess. This little princess loved a lot of things. She loved animals, she loved her friends, she loved honey, but most of all, she loved her daddy. Whenever she saw him, she would yell out in excitement, "It's Daddy!" And she would send a big hug his way. They always played together, and she would yell, You can't catch me," as she ran away as fast as she could. Her daddy would always purposefully lose for her, but when she got tired, she would always ask him, "Hey, can you put me up on your shoulders?" She loved this because she could always see everything from up there. She always liked to take a photo of everything she could see from up that high. She saw there were horses running around with no saddles on. She would always say they were naked as she giggled to her daddy. This little princess loved a lot of things. She loved animals. She loved
you want to do it
friends,
now?
She loved honey, but most of all, she loved her daddy.
Or give me a second.
It's done, okay?
Yay! That was my most
Alright,
favorite
guys, I'm gonna
bedtime
go.
story ever. Lucy is
I'll
my
miss you.
favorite
What?
princess.
What'd you say?